subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Not suitable for the protagonist character. 024, I am your navigator. Kill them all, leave no one alive. This bloody statement sent a chill through everyone present. As the overall commander of this operation, Luffy scanned the expressions of the crowd and spoke again. Don't think that any of the fishmen are innocent and don't deserve this. There is no such argument. The Arlong pirates, as a whole, are led by Arlong, and his crimes are unforgivable. To say that other fishmen have reasons for their actions is a joke. This pirate crew came from the Grand Line to the East Blue 8 years ago and has since occupied over 20 villages, with even more towns destroyed. They rule everything around them with force, collecting a head tax of 50,000 for children and 100,000 for adults per month. The number of people killed for not being able to pay the tax is countless. There is no innocent fishman in these despicable acts. At this point, Luffy looked at Nami. Nami closed her eyes and after a moment, opened them again, saying seriously, I was naive just now. I'm sorry. Now let me say it again. Please help me. Help me eliminate the Arlong pirates. Her tone became resolute. Zoro grinned. No need to ask, aren't we comrades? Yeah, Zoro is right. Nami, we will definitely save your hometown. Johnny and Yasaku also firmly agreed. Luffy took a sip of tea and chuckled. This is all for justice. It sounds strange coming from your mouth. Usopp couldn't help but comment. Captain Smoker nodded solemnly. Luffy is right. This is all for justice. Hey, is it appropriate to say this with a group of pirates? Usopp's mouth twitched. Smoker laughed. I don't think you guys are pirates. If all pirates were like Luffy and you guys, what difference would it make if the whole world became pirates? Clap, clap, clap. Luffy clapped his hands, attracting everyone's attention. After confirming the operational objectives, next is the specific operational plan. At this moment, Nami raised her hand to signal. Luffy, I have a way to gather all the fishmen. Are you sure? Nami looked at him gently, smiling. After all, this is about my hometown. I want to contribute. And don't underestimate me. Luffy, I am your navigator. Shortly after, everyone gathered at the bow of the warship, watching the Going Merry leave the fleet and head towards the Arlong pirate stronghold. Luffy, are you really okay with leaving it to Nami? Captain Smoker asked with a hint of worry. Don't worry. That woman has mastered 2 techniques and 6 styles. If there's any danger, those bunch of rotten fish and shrimp won't be able to stop Nami. Luffy wasn't worried at all. Let's go. Let's go to Kokoyashi village first. Yes, Arlong Park, the Arlong pirates' stronghold. Nami stood at the entrance of the main gate, feeling a mix of emotions. She recalled her childhood, the time she spent with her mother and sister. Despite the poverty and sometimes having to survive on just oranges, those were warm and beautiful times. But this beauty was shattered with the arrival of the fishmen. Her mother, Belmere, was shot and killed by Arlong because she couldn't pay the tax. Everyone in the village suffered, and many people died. As for herself, she was valued by Arlong because of her talent for drawing sea charts. And so, an agreement was made. When she collected a bounty of 100 million berries, she could buy Kokoyashi village back from the Arlong pirates. She became a witch in the eyes of some people, a traitor in the eyes of those who didn't know the truth. She became a thief. 8 years had passed. Looking up at Arlong Park once again, a pirate flag hung at the top. It will be over soon. Nami calmed her mind and pushed open the door, walking inside. What came into view was an open-air pool. There were many fishmen around the pool, either standing or sitting. And the captain of the Arlong pirates, Fishman Arlong, was sitting on a sun chair, leisurely enjoying the sunlight. Isn't this our navigator, Miss Nami? Back already. Arlong was the first to notice Nami and smiled, revealing a row of sharp teeth. How was the haul this time? Looks like you're carrying a big package. Disgusting. As soon as the words navigator came out of Arlong's mouth, Nami felt disgusted to the extreme. She approached without saying a word and threw the package she was carrying on the ground. I've gathered 100 million berries. What? Arlong's expression suddenly changed. That's impossible. What's impossible? Nami stared coldly. How much money you stole each time you came back? How much you've stolen up until today? I know it all very clearly. Arlong stared at Nami and then looked at the package on the ground. Judging by its size, it indeed contained 100 million. According to the agreement, Kokoyasi village is free from now on. Nami said, this was truly an unexpected turn of events. Arlong remained silent for a moment, then suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha! Let's check it then, Nami. I'm a man who always keeps his promises. Saying that, he gestured to a nearby fishman. Receiving the boss's order, the fishman walked towards the package, pushing Nami aside. Move, Nami. However, just as his hand was about to touch Nami, a slender leg suddenly kicked out. Tempest kick, a swift kicking technique, creating a vacuum slash. Plop! A long wound tore open on the fishman's chest, and he flew backwards in a scream. The surrounding fishmen were all shocked. What was that just now? I didn't see clearly. Did this woman kick Bisharo away with one kick? His chest is bleeding. The fishmen were filled with doubt and astonishment. Even Arlong's pupils contracted. When did Nami acquire this kind of fighting power? Is this a move that humans can use? Others couldn't see clearly, but he could see it clearly. It was a slashing kick. Nami, what are you doing? Arlong's face turned ugly as he questioned. Don't touch my money so casually. Nami stood with one hand on her hip, full of momentum. This agreement needs to be witnessed by everyone. If you go back on your word, you will lose all your dignity in front of your subordinates. I don't trust you, Arlong. Hearing this, Arlong sneered inwardly. Naive humans. They have no idea how united fishmen are. Even if he were to publicly go back on his word in front of everyone. So what? As the captain of the Arlong pirates, he would never lose his prestige because they are fishmen enslaved by humans. I see. It's only natural for you to have such concerns. In that case, let's wait until everyone is present to witness this agreement made 8 years ago. Arlong laughed heartily. Hachi, what's the matter, Arlong? An octopus fishman emerged from the pool. Go and notify the people outside to gather. We should prepare for a grand celebration. After all, this is 100 million berries, haha. Amidst the wild laughter, Arlong stood up and returned to the house. His face instantly darkened. Something's not right. Nami's money couldn't have been gathered so quickly. Thinking this, he picked up a din-din mushi and dialed a number. It's me. We have a big deal to discuss. 025, I am her captain and companion, and I will become a family member in the future. You have logged into the new island of Kokosi Village and obtained 100 venture coins when the system prompt sounded. Luffy finally set foot on the land of Kokosi Village. Behind him, a warship was unloading and cannons were being carried down. Among them were the buggy cannonballs contributed by Buggy. The power of one shot was enough to destroy a street. It has to be said that Buggy's strength is not that great, but the research and development technology of the cannonballs is quite impressive. Follow me, a small team. Luffy gave the order and led the people towards Kokosi Village. When the Marines appeared in the village, the villagers on the road were very shocked. Marines? They actually came to this island. What are they here for? No one dared to approach, and even subconsciously made way. It seems like we're not welcome. Zoro shook his head. Isn't that obvious? Arlong has been causing trouble here for 8 years, and the nearby Marine base hasn't done anything. It's normal for them to not have a good impression of the Marines. Just as they were talking, a middle-aged man wearing a windmill hat and a police uniform hurriedly walked towards them. Marines, what are you here for? Seeing this person, Luffy had a strong impression. You're the village police officer here? I remember your name. Ajian. Do you know me? Ajian was stunned. Nami mentioned you. Luffy smiled and said, Perfect. I'm planning to clear out the dragon pirates who have been occupying this place. You, follow the Marines behind me to evacuate the people. Nami. Ajian was surprised. Are you here to eliminate Arlong and his gang of fishmen? Unbelievable. For 8 years, the village that had been neglected and ignored actually had Marines coming to take charge. Enough with the idle talk. Go quickly. Luffy waved his hand and remembered something. By the way, where is Nami's sister, Nojiko? I am Nojiko. At this moment, a girl with short blue hair walked over. Luffy glanced at her. She was a quite spirited girl, perhaps because she had been growing oranges under the sun for a long time. Her skin had a wheatish color. Seeing her, Luffy immediately recognized her. Do you have something to tell me, Marine? Nojiko secretly assessed the group of people. The few leading ones, the one wearing a straw hat, the one with 3 swords, the man with a long nose. From a distance, she even thought this guy was a fisherman. That definitely didn't look like Marines. But behind these few people, there was indeed a team of Marine soldiers. Nojiko, Nami asked me to give this to you. Luffy took out a piece of paper from his pocket and handed it to her. Take me to the coordinates on top. With a hint of doubt, Nojiko took it and looked at it. It was a simple map, but if it wasn't for her, she would definitely not recognize what place it was. And below the map, there was a message from Nami. Nojiko, you can fully trust the person who gave you this note. Please follow his instructions. The signature was Nami. It is indeed Nami's handwriting. But who are you? What is your relationship with Nami? Asked Nojiko curiously. To have someone whom Nami can completely trust, it's a bit unbelievable. I am her captain, as well as her comrade. In the future, we might even become family, Luffy smiled. Is that so? So you're Nami's man? Nojiko thought in shock. That girl found herself a man who looks quite formidable without making a sound. What about Nami? She didn't see her sister's figure. She is doing an important preparation. Anyway, take me to the place first. I understand. I will take you there. Seeing this, Luffy said to the soldiers behind him, you follow this police officer named Jin to evacuate the people and ensure their safety. Yes, Lord Luffy. Led by Nojiko, everyone left the village and arrived at an orange orchard. Is this the place? Luffy confirmed. Yes, this is it. These are all Nami's favorite orange trees. This is Bellomello's orange orchard, right? Luffy thought to himself, burying money in a place like this is something Nami would do. Suddenly, voices could be heard from the orange orchard. Dig hard. That's a huge sum of 100 million berries. Dig 3 feet deep and find it for me. Yes, Colonel. Hearing this, Nojiko's expression changed, and she immediately rushed over. What are you doing? She saw more than a dozen Marines digging holes in the orange orchard. The leader looked cunning, like a rat. Oh, someone is getting in the way? The rat's mouth curled up slightly, and he casually said, I am Colonel of the 16th branch of East Blue. I received a report that a thief hid a large amount of stolen money here. Such ill-gotten gains should naturally be entrusted to the government for safekeeping. If you don't want to die, get out of here. BD, that's Nami. Nojiko's face turned ugly, trembling with anger. Suddenly, a hand pressed on her shoulder. Luffy calmly walked over and said, You are the rat, Colonel? Who are you? The rat frowned. I received a report from the masses that you accepted bribes from pirates and colluded with the evil dragon pirates. Zoro, how should we sentence him in this situation? Luffy asked with a smile. Of course, it's the death penalty, Captain. Zoro grinned and slowly drew his sword from his waist. This is a worse situation than Buggy. Can I cut him, Luffy? Don't let him die too easily. Understood. Locking his gaze on the rat colonel like a wild beast, Zoro held his blade and approached him step by step. Seeing this, the rat's face changed, and he angrily said, Are you going to attack a Marine colonel? Are you crazy? You'll become wanted criminals. Before he could finish his words, Zoro charged forward. The blade flashed. Splat! The rat colonel let out a miserable scream as blood sprayed from his chest, watering the orange trees below. Sorry, Colonel, but we were pirates to begin with. 026, shootout. Give me a hard blast. Colonel Mouse is definitely not dead. Zoro's attack was measured. Since Luffy said not to let the opponent die too easily, he decided to leave him half dead. Do we need to publicly try this guy? Zoro asked, shaking off the blood from his sword. No need. Let's execute him with a cannon, Luffy replied. Luffy shook his head and instructed Usopp, Go give him a simple bandage and tie him up. Since they had decided on an execution, They couldn't let Colonel Mouse lose too much blood and die in a coma. This is really too easy for him. Nico Robin was shocked. You, killing a Marine colonel, is that okay? She asked, a bit confused. She was a little confused. Is this Marine fighting against Marines? No, wait, that green-haired swordsman just called himself a pirate. My grandfather is Marine Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp, Luffy chuckled, revealing one of his backgrounds. Vice Admiral Garp? Nico Robin widened her eyes. She had heard this name more than once. When Belmere was still alive, she often talked about her time in the Marines, and Mr. Garp's name came up many times. The most memorable time was when she mentioned that there was a pirate called Golden Lion who caused a commotion at the naval headquarters and was defeated by Mr. Garp and Sengoku working together. Nami found a high-ranking official's child. This should be a good outcome for her. Nico Robin felt happy for her sister. Luffy looked at the Marines brought by Colonel Mouse and calmly said, "Did you all hear that? As accomplices, I'll give you a chance now." The Marines fell silent, nervously swallowing their saliva. Compared to Nico Robin, as Marines, they could better understand the meaning behind those two words, Garp. In a little while, the dragon pirates will come here. Any one of you who kills a fishman and survives will be exempt from punishment. If you die in battle, the past will be forgiven, and I don't mind embellishing a few words for you. Think about your families. Luffy made empty promises with a benevolent smile. After all, I'm not a demon. The Marines were as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Now, dig out the money for me. Yes, yes. As a final order, Luffy took out a Din Mushi and contacted Johnny. Yes, Luffy Dono. Have Dilma bring over the cannons. Dusk, the dragon domain. The fishmen who were out on a mission had all returned to their base. In front of an open-air pool, hundreds of fishmen, who were barely humanoid in shape, gathered around Arlong. Captain Arlong looked down at Nami and grinned. Nami, everyone is here. Can we start now? Once we confirm the 100 million berries, we will hold a grand feast for you. Nami crossed her arms and scanned all the fishmen with her gaze. Her memory was good. She wouldn't forget the faces of her enemies once she saw them. Officer Kurubi, 9 million berries. Officer Chu, 5.5 million berries. Officer Hachon, Shipwright Jinbi. Banquet Minister Ikaros. Party Captain Chu. And the musician who she kicked and injured during the day, Buggy. Looking at each face, Nami finally focused her gaze on Arlong, her mouth slightly upturned. They are indeed all here. Then let's verify it. Don't try anything funny. Arlong signaled to Octopus Hachi. Immediately, Hachi walked towards the package, and this time, Nami didn't stop him. The 6 octopus arms skillfully untied the knots, and suddenly, stacks of banknotes came into view. Mr. Arlong, it's real money, Hachi said loudly. Wait a minute. At this moment, Crocodile walked out, his sharp gaze fixed on Nami. As he approached, he kicked away the pile of belly that had accumulated together. After kicking away the surface layer, there were only papers piled underneath. Nami, Crocodile said coldly. What do you mean by this? Nami chuckled softly. Arlong's face turned ugly. Don't you explain? Our dear navigator, where is your 100 million belly? Arlong, I did say that I had raised 100 million belly, but I didn't say it was all here. Nami spoke in a wicked tone with a hint of sarcasm. There are only 10 million belly in this package. The remaining 90 million, I put them somewhere else. Please, don't take me for a fool. Somewhere else. The Orange Grove? Arlong frowned. The rat we contacted before, that guy still hasn't replied. Could it be that he wants to keep the money for himself? Arlong thought to himself, his expression becoming even uglier. What does this mean now? Arlong took a deep breath and said with patience, You asked everyone to witness, and now everyone is here. But the money is not enough. You're too impatient, Arlong. Come with me. I'll take you to where the money is hidden in that orange grove. Saying that, Nami ignored the 10 million on the ground and turned to walk outside. The officers exchanged glances. Arlong, is this woman playing some trick on us? Ha ha ha. She's not lying. The money is indeed in the orange grove. Arlong dismissed it, thinking that mere humans could only play some insignificant tricks fearing that he wouldn't acknowledge it, and made some meaningless plans. Follow me. That money belongs to us. With this 100 million, our fishman empire can take the first step. Oh, the fishmen immediately became excited. Immediately, under Arlong's lead, many fishmen followed Nami to the orange grove. Where's the hiding place? One officer immediately asked. We've come this far. Nami, don't tell me you want to play some treasure hunt game with us? It's over there. Nami pointed to the location of the treasure chest. Seeing this, two fishmen immediately went over and started digging with their bare hands. The strength of the fishmen was 10 times that of ordinary people, so digging a bit of soil was extremely easy for them. We found it, one of the fishmen suddenly said. Take out. With the combined effort of the two fishmen, a huge wooden box was moved to the ground. Arlong and the others quickly walked over. However, when the box was opened, the faces of the fishmen all changed. Human. There was no money in the box, only a human. The human was wrapped in bandages, and blood stained the area. Rat. Arlong's pupils contracted. Woo-woo. The rat, desperate to speak, had Usopp's smelly socks stuffed in its mouth. Enraged, Arlong's face twisted in anger, and he suddenly turned around. Nami. However, the woman's figure was nowhere to be seen behind him. At the same time, on a hill not far from the orange grove, Luffy, I'm safe now. Through the din mushy, Nami reported that she was safe. Stay away, Nami. It's very powerful. You might even smell the aroma of grilled fish from several kilometers away. Luffy chuckled lightly, hung up the din mushy, and gave a cold order to the soldiers operating the cannons. Blast them hard. I don't want to see a single ant alive within a radius of 1 kilometer. Yes, Captain Luffy, accompanied by the ignition of the fuses. Dozens of cannons roared in unison. One buggy cannonball after another poured into the target area. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the flames surpassed the evening glow. Screams and howls filled the air. 027 explosion is art. Luffy, skew the heads of the Murlocs. Luffy prepared a total of 24 cannons. The 24 cannonballs fired in a single volley were all Buggy's buggy cannonballs. These cannonballs were found in Buggy's headquarters after capturing him in Orangetown. Their power is enough to destroy an entire street in Orangetown with just one shot. And now, a total of 24. Boom, 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 boom. The flames soared into the sky, and in almost an instant, an area of thousands of meters around Orange Grove was leveled. Thick smoke billowed up, roaring in the sky like a fire dragon. In front of one of the cannons, Usopp proudly punched his fist. Serves you right, fishmen. Taste the attacks of the brave warrior of the sea, Captain Usopp, who never misses. The flames consumed everything, turning the sky above Kokoyasi village red. Continue, Luffy said calmly. Luffy-sama, we have run out of buggy cannonballs, a gunner reported. Switch to regular cannonballs and keep bombing until we're done. Until we're done? The gunners looked at the ammunition rack behind them. One rack had 20 cannonballs, and there were 30 racks like this. 600 cannonballs. This is most of the stock of the 153rd branch. They floated across the sea, spanning nearly 1,000 kilometers to reach Kokoyasi village, ready to be fed to these fishmen. They should be happy, no doubt. Yes, the gunners immediately started their actions. The thunderous roar of the cannons continued, like a cruel symphony, mercilessly plundering lives on the battlefield. In fact, it didn't need to be so troublesome. Luffy could instantly stun those fishmen with Conqueror's Haki, turning them into fish on a cutting board, ready to be slaughtered. But as someone with a fear of insufficient firepower, he just liked to blow things up. Explosions are art. Boom, boom, boom. The bombardment continued, far from over. The residents of Kokoyasi village, under the persuasion of Officer Aegean and some Marines, had all evacuated from the village. They took refuge on a beach outside the village. However, even so, the towering flames were still clearly visible. The constant deafening sounds made people's hearts tremble. Are they attacking the Arlong pirates? It's been more than 5 minutes, and the explosions are still going. What's the situation? Did they win? The villagers were very concerned. We will win. In the evening glow, the figure of an orange-haired girl appeared in front of everyone. Nami. Aegean was surprised. Nojiko immediately rushed forward, looking worriedly at her sister. Nami, I heard about your plan from Luffy. Are you okay? I'm fine. Nami smiled and shook her head, shouting to the villagers. Everything will be over soon, so don't worry. From now on, Arlong and his gang will no longer oppress us. Kokoyasi Village and many other villages and towns nearby, everyone is free. At these words, the villagers erupted in a huge cheer, and everyone had smiles on their faces. Nojiko, I want to ask you for a favor. Nami looked at her sister. What? Nojiko asked with a smile. The bombardment of the cannons continued for a long time, until all the cannonballs were completely used up and the roar finally subsided. 16th Branch Squad, go up and clean up the battlefield. Luffy waved his hand and gave orders. Colonel Mouse brought over a dozen Marines and reluctantly began their operation. The task at hand was simple: to finish off any remaining fishmen who still had a breath of life in them. As they entered the bombardment zone, they were met with a scene of devastation. The orange grove had disappeared, and a house outside the grove was also gone. The ground was charred black, with flames still burning and the smell of gunpowder lingering in the air. Fishmen's limbs and arms were scattered everywhere, their bloody appearance unsettling. These bodies were scattered far apart, indicating that they were exhausted from trying to escape during the bombardment. Suddenly, a dead octopus fishman's body made a faint sound. The next second, a burst of gunfire greeted him. Bang! 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 After the gunfire, the body was shot more than a dozen times in the back, completely losing its breath. It was me, I did it. I was the first to hit. One of the Marines exclaimed excitedly. My sins have been offset. Damn, it was stolen. The remaining Marines anxiously continued on, unable to do anything else. However, at that moment, you bunch of inferior races, a voice filled with hatred, as if it came from hell. The next moment, a figure covered in blood, missing an arm, rushed out. He opened his fangs and bit one of the Marines to death. The rest, terrified, raised their guns. But they were too close. Their bullets hadn't had a chance to be fired yet, and the figure had already rushed into the crowd, unleashing a one-sided massacre like a vengeful spirit. In just a few seconds, the screams subsided. Fishman Arlong, panting heavily, stood among the pile of corpses, his eyes bloodshot and filled with blood vessels. His left arm had been shattered in the first round of bombardment, and at a critical moment, he used his companion's body to block most of the damage, barely saving his own life. However, even so, under the subsequent saturation bombardment, he was now barely clinging to life. You're still alive? The vitality of fish is truly tenacious. Suddenly, a mocking voice came. Boo! Arlong's heavy breathing, his eyes coldly turned. Zoro held his dual blades, with one still in his mouth. The messenger from hell, he grinned. Three-sword style, demon slash. Like a ghostly strike, Zoro flew past, and behind him, 3 streams of blood spurted from Arlong's chest. Ugh, humans, accompanied by the final sound of resentment, Arlong died. Then, footsteps sounded. Zoro turned around and looked. Luffy. Are there any survivors? No. Luffy shook his head and glanced at the Marines from the 16th branch. He didn't intend for this group of people to be killed, but they were just unlucky, dying at the hands of Arlong. Luffy-sama. The Marines from the 153rd branch also arrived, and D. Luma saluted. The evil dragon pirates have been completely wiped out. Well done. Next. Luffy looked around, expressionless, and gave the order. Cut off the heads of these fishmen, string them together with sticks, and hang them in Kokoyasi Village. In a family, the most important thing is to be neat and tidy. This behavior is called building a jingguan. 028 tonight. I'm ready. The night grew dark in Kokoyasi Village. The heads of over 100 fishmen were strung up and hung in the streets. The villagers of Kokoyasi Village spontaneously gathered to watch. When they saw the faces of their enemies, they clapped and cheered. Even a boy of about 10 years old cried with tears streaming down his face and shouted, Arlong. Mom, that's Arlong's head. He's the one who killed Dad. Fishmen, they're all fishmen. That's Chu. I recognize his face. That damn Karubi, he came to collect money a few months ago. And that octopus, he's dead too. Good riddance. The sea kings he raised once swallowed a fisherman and his boat in one bite. Damn, they all deserve to die. Good riddance. Good riddance. Good riddance. Some people cried with excitement. Some clapped their hands until they were swollen, and some even wished to eat their flesh. In an atmosphere that was both joyful and sorrowful, Luffy, accompanied by Diluma, walked up to the crowd. Kokoyasi village villagers, my name is Luffy. As he spoke, he threw the last head in his hand in front of the villagers. This is a human. The villagers stared at the head and gradually quieted down. He is the 16th branch captain of East Blue, Marine Colonel Mouse. He colluded with the Arlong pirates, accepted bribes from Arlong, and covered up everything here. It can be said that he is one of the root causes of your 8 years of suffering. Now, I have taken this head for you. The Arlong pirates have also been completely wiped out, and the heads of all the fishmen are behind me. Ew. Your suffering has come to an end. Tomorrow will be a new beginning, so celebrate. After listening to these words, the villagers shouted excitedly, Long live Luffy! Luffy, you are the hero of our Kokoyasi village. No, you're the son-in-law of our Kokoyasi village. Wait a minute, what does son-in-law mean? Huh? You don't know? Luffy was brought here by Nami. That girl fell in love with Luffy at sea. I see. So that's why Luffy came from afar. Wow, how romantic. I heard they are getting married soon. Is that true, Luffy? Please let me have a drink at the wedding. No. I heard they're already married and have children. The atmosphere suddenly changed, becoming chaotic. Listening to the increasingly absurd remarks, Luffy couldn't help but twitch his mouth. How did this rumor spread? Who did it? Beside a house on the street. Nami leaned against the wall, laughing so hard her stomach hurt. It wasn't her doing, she just told everyone about Luffy and Nami's relationship. In fact, as an older sister, she was more curious about the story between these two. Luffy didn't bother to explain the increasingly absurd rumors to the villagers and announced publicly, Don't thank me, I only did a small job. The other hero of this operation is this person by my side. He is Captain Diluma of Marine Branch 153. After saying that, he quickly left. Looking at the countless pairs of eyes focused on him, Diluma took a deep breath and said, I'm very sorry, villagers of Kokoyasi Village. Luffy said that I, as a member of Branch 153, am another hero, but I can't bear that title. Half a month ago, He began to tell the story, starting with the incident involving Vice Admiral Mocha. He felt it was necessary to spread the deeds of the Straw Hat crew. Speaking of which, where did Nami go? Luffy stood on the rooftop of a building, activating his observation haki, but he couldn't find Nami in the crowd. Looking at Zoro beside him, the green-haired swordsman was lying on a pile of tiles, drinking alone. As for Nami, she went back to the sunny, he said, unable to help but laugh. What's your child's name? Ha. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to announce a ban on alcohol on the ship. Stop it. Are you a demon? Zoro, with his shark-like mouth, retorted. Not bothering with the drunkard, Luffy leaped towards the sunny. Back on the deck, his observation haki immediately detected the presence of two people. In a large bathroom, the library, the measurement room, and the upper-level bathroom on the sunny were all connected. Located below the platform at the stern of the ship. It seems like nothing's wrong. After confirming that Nami's presence was normal, Luffy walked to the upper-level platform. As he stepped over the stairs, the sound of his footsteps seemed to enter the large bathroom below. Who is it? Nami's cautious voice sounded. It's me, Luffy. Her voice became joyful. Luffy sat on the ship's edge, blowing the evening sea breeze, and smiled. Are you taking a bath? I'm coming in. Come in, but it'll cost you 100,000 berries, Nami replied with a smile, even somewhat provocatively. No. Inside the bathroom, Kaya blushed and hurriedly stopped. I am inside, Mr. Luffy. Don't worry. He won't do anything like that. That's so. After that, their voices became quieter, as if intentionally avoiding him, whispering something. Luffy shook his head. This girl was becoming more and more arrogant for no reason. He needed to find an opportunity to teach her a lesson. With the issue in Kokoyashi village resolved, we need to prepare for entering the Grand Line. While contemplating their next move, he blew the comfortable sea breeze. After who knows how long, the door to the lower cabin opened, and Nami and Kaya, who had finished bathing, walked out together. Luffy, Mr. Luffy. The two greeted him. Luffy turned around and looked at the two women. Seeing that they were dressed neatly, he asked, "Are you going out?" "I'm taking Kaya to see a doctor. The doctor in the village is very skilled and might have some understanding of Kaya's condition." Nami nodded. Luffy didn't think it was necessary. Once they reached Drum Island, Kaya's illness would naturally be resolved. However, considering Nami's good intentions, he didn't say much. A few hours later, the moon gradually rose in the sky. "Aren't you going to the banquet?" Luffy turned around and saw that Nami had returned alone. "I don't like the noise. There are too many people." "What about Kaya?" "Kaya is still at the hospital." Nami smiled and approached, taking the initiative to hug Luffy, her eyes gentle as if they could drip water. "Luffy, what's wrong?" "Tonight, I'm ready 029 Sunshine, Fruit no Kigo's boarding request tonight. For the people of Kokoyashi Village, it is a joyful day. Similarly, for Luffy, it is also a pleasant evening." The same goes for Nami. She deliberately bathes and changes clothes in order to consult Captain Luffy about the 8th style of the Marine's 6 styles after the 7th style. She has mastered some techniques of the 7th style, but the legendary 8th style is only occasionally glimpsed in some books and can be said to be ignorant. For the diligent and eager to learn Nami, Luffy holds nothing back and wholeheartedly immerses himself in it, deeply imprinting each move and technique he has mastered in Nami's soul, making her unable to forget it forever. In this arduous battle, Nami naturally retreats step by step and eventually collapses from exhaustion. However, Luffy is also not doing well. The profoundness of the 8th style poses difficulties in teaching it smoothly to a beginner like Nami. But Luffy will not give up. He will not let down anyone who is diligent in learning. After repeatedly teaching in a simple and clear manner, he finally imparts his hard work to Nami. He engraves the essence of the 8th style deep in Nami's heart. Congratulations. Kokoyashi Village Banquet. While Nami is learning new moves, the other people of Kokoyashi Village are holding a grand feast. In front of the bonfire, Zoro, Johnny, and Yasaku are competing with the village policeman, Aegean, in drinking. They are all heavy drinkers, and the competition has evolved from cups to barrels. The nearby villagers are also constantly cheering, creating a lively atmosphere. Marines, such as Dayulima, sit around the bonfire, mingling with the villagers. Nearby hospital. After taking her medicine, Kaya lies on the hospital bed, smiling as she listens to the lively noise outside, gradually falling asleep. Outside the hospital, Usopp wants to visit, but is told that the patient is already asleep. Many children gather around him, wanting to continue listening to the Straw Hat Crew's adventure stories. At this moment, Nojiko walks over with a glass of malt beer. "You're Usopp, right?" Nami's sister. Usopp taps his fist on his palm, seeing through the truth at a glance, and proudly says, "You also want to hear the legendary adventures of Captain Usopp? I really can't do anything with you. Where should I start?" "Right, let's start with my fierce battle against the giant goldfish." "No, what I want to ask about is Luffy." Nojiko opens her mouth, but unfortunately, Usopp has already started talking nonstop. The children cheer excitedly. After listening for a while, Nojiko feels that the story is too fake, as if she has read it in a storybook somewhere, but she doesn't want to disturb the children's excitement. She can only get up and leave. Usopp is completely immersed in telling the story and doesn't notice at all. Walking towards the villagers' banquet, Nojiko sees Zoro again. But in the world of men competing and drinking, there is no room for her to interrupt. I can only ask Nami tomorrow." Nojiko sighs, thinking of Nami. "Oh, where's Nami? I haven't seen her since I helped her change her tattoo." After searching around for a moment, Nojiko realizes that not only is Nami missing, But even the great hero Luffy is also gone. After thinking for a moment, she reveals a mischievous smile. Forget it. Let's go find Belmere. On such a happy day, she should want to join too. Nojiko takes 2 bottles of wine and quietly leaves the village. Walking in the night, even from a distance, you can hear the joyful celebration. Belmere. Finally, Nojiko arrives at a grave. The grave of her mother, Belmere. She sits cross-legged and pours a bottle of wine in front of the grave. This is your favorite wine. Don't say I didn't bring you a gift. It's been 8 years. Nami, she's grown up, she's doing well. She wasn't doing well before, but now she is. That girl is really amazing. She found an incredible man. You can rest assured. Today, all the fishmen of the evil dragon pirates are dead. Belmere, you must be happy. Nami laughed, but tears couldn't stop flowing down. The next day, Luffy walked out of the Sunny's cabin and onto the deck. Daily routine. Open the adventure shop. There are new goods. Luffy's eyes lit up. Self-healing fruit. After use, as long as there is a breath left, it can restore to the state before being injured. Price, 100 venture coins. Sunlight fruit. After use, it can absorb the energy of sunlight to restore physical strength. The stronger the sunlight, the better the effect, but it is ineffective under moonlight. Price, 5,000 adventure coins. 90% off today, 500 venture coins. Let's not talk about the first self-healing fruit for now. It's probably something like a senza bean from Dragon Ball. But as for the second, sunlight fruit, to be honest, he had never seen something so expensive before. Not counting the awakening fruit. Of course, it's on sale. 90% off. Who wouldn't buy it? Those who can resist buying it, Luffy would call them detoxified. He immediately looked at his savings. Just enough. Could it be that this system is deliberately guiding me to spend? Luffy suddenly had an incredible thought. Could it be that the more money I have in my savings, the better the things it refreshes? Shaking his head, he decisively bought the 2 fruits. Adventure coins, 730, 130 with a flash of white light. The 2 fruits appeared in his hands. Luffy put away the self-healing fruit and ate the sunlight fruit on the spot. In the next moment, he understood. His body immediately responded to the effect of this fruit. The early morning sunlight shone on his body, and his physical strength quickly recovered. As everyone knows, all demon fruit powers consume one's own physical strength when activated. But with the effect of the sunlight fruit, Luffy felt that as long as it was daytime, he could stay in his Nika form all the time without any problem. The sun god paired with sunlight. Perfect, it's so perfect. Luffy nodded in satisfaction. At this moment, Usopp's shout came from below the Sunny. Hey Luffy, is Nami here? What's wrong? Nokajiri asked me to find her. As for Nami, she must be sleeping soundly, probably won't wake up until noon. She must have been tired from practicing the 8 style yesterday. She's not feeling well. Jumping down from the Sunny, Luffy patted Usopp's shoulder and said, Let's go, I'll go see her. Soon, outside the hospital, he met Nami's sister, Nokajiri. Luffy. Nokajiri waved and smiled. I have nowhere to go. Captain Luffy, can you let me join your crew? 032 Sisters Nokijio wants to board the ship. Luffy paused for a moment and asked in confusion, Wait, how did you become homeless? Don't you remember? Nokijio extended her arm and pointed to the distant bombardment area. My house, it was blown up by you. Luffy. Indeed, they had a blast yesterday, and a few houses were indeed blown up. Haha, I'm not blaming you. Nokijio smiled brightly. If sacrificing my house can bring about these results, I would do this trade 100 times. I'm sorry, I will find a way to help you rebuild a house and let the villagers help. Luffy thought for a moment and said. Nokijio shook her head and said softly, The orange orchard is gone too. Growing oranges was her source of income. That orchard belonged to Belmere. When I was a child, she relied on that orchard to support me and Nami. Although life was sometimes difficult, we were really happy back then. She showed a nostalgic expression and smiled. Last night, I thought for a long time. Maybe this is also a good opportunity. I want to go out and see the world. Captain Luffy, can I join your ship? I could do anything, cooking, cleaning. I'm good at everything. She was very optimistic and cheerful. Luffy smiled and nodded. Welcome, no Kijio. Nami will be very happy. He naturally didn't mind. Anyway, the sunny was empty. We will set sail soon. Is there anything you need to prepare? Thank you. I do need to make some preparations. Saying that, no Kijio left happily. Luffy watched her walk away and turned to Usopp, saying, "Go find Zoro and the others. We're getting ready to leave." They were drunk last night. Usopp sighed and went to find Zoro and the others. At this moment, the door of the hospital opened and a village doctor walked out. Luffy-sama. Good morning, doctor. How is Kaya's condition? I'm very sorry about this. The doctor apologized, saying that he was powerless to do anything about Kaya's condition, and he couldn't even determine what illness she had. Kaya-sama has been taking medication all along, so I prepared some according to the same ratio. How much is it? How can I accept your money? You are our village's benefactor. If I take your money, the other villagers will tear down my hospital. The doctor repeatedly waved his hands, insisting on not taking money. Luffy couldn't do anything about it, so he accepted this kindness. He went into the hospital and brought Kaya back to the Sunny. Shortly after, Usopp returned with Zoro, Johnny, and Yasaku, while no Kijio had somehow transplanted 2 orange trees and planted them on the platform at the stern of the Sunny. Luffy-sama, Deluma, and the other members of the 153rd Marine Branch came to bid farewell. Captain, our journey has come to an end, and we will stay in this village for a few days, waiting for the arrival of the 16th branch. Please rest assured, we will never forget everything you have done. Luffy patted the other's shoulder and smiled. Well then, goodbye, Captain. Yes. May you have smooth sailing and great fortune. After bidding farewell to the Marines, Luffy stepped onto the Sunny's deck. At this moment, someone shouted, Luffy-sama, can I follow you? Can I follow you? Luffy was taken aback and turned to look. It was a young Marine, looking at him with admiration and worship in his eyes. Don't you want to be a Marine anymore? Do you want to become a pirate with me? Luffy found it interesting. In you, I see the justice I pursued when I was young. My hometown was once destroyed by pirates, but you are different. I want to follow you. The young soldier expressed excitedly. Then, 3 or 5 others echoed. I do too, Luffy-sama. Can I join your crew? D-Luma was also stunned, but instead of stopping them, he smiled as he watched this scene unfold. Seeing several eager gazes fixed on him, Luffy shook his head. I'm not as righteous as you imagine. If Kokoyasi wasn't Nami's hometown, I wouldn't even come here. Young Marines, I hope you remember this moment and stay true to yourselves. Being rejected, these few Marines were very disappointed, but they still rallied. Yes, we will remember your teachings. Well then, goodbye. The Sunny Ghost spread its sails and slowly sailed away from the shore. Behind it, the Mariejois followed suit. On the shore, the villagers of Kokoyasi quickly ran over to bid farewell under the leadership of Officer Ajien. Luffy-sama. Goodbye, Luffy-sama. Have a safe journey. Don't bully Nami too much. Make sure to come back and visit. On the deck, Nami walked over to Luffy with a smile and shouted to the villagers, Don't worry, I'll be with him. Nami? How did you get up there? Officer Ajien was dumbfounded. Haha. Goodbye, everyone from Kokoyasi village. I'm going on a journey, Ajien. I'll leave Belmir's gravestone to you. Amidst the noisy farewell, the 2 sailboats gradually disappeared on the horizon. Sunny Go, Nami's cabin. Nami sat on the edge of the bed, supporting her chin with one hand, quietly watching her sleeping sister. She took out a photo from her pocket and placed it on the bedside table. In the photo, it was Belmir and the 2 sisters. A slight collision sound seemed to wake Nami up. Nami's eyelids twitched, slowly opening her eyes. Nami, she spoke softly in a daze. You're awake? You can really sleep. It's already noon. What mischief did you get up to last night? Nami's sister, Nojiko, teased with a smile. Last night, Nami blinked her eyes, her face turning red as she suddenly remembered something and tried to sit up. Is it already noon? Yes. I have to cook. Luffy must be starving. Nojiko, she quickly pushed her sister back onto the bed and said impatiently, When will you start caring about me like this? Saying that, she rolled up her sleeves and said, I'll go cook. You rest well. Oh, Nami lay back in a daze, and only realized when Nojiko was about to leave the room. Wait, why are you here? Nojiko turned around, revealing a tattoo on her right arm that was identical to the one on Nami's left arm. It was an orange and a windmill. You idiot, of course I couldn't rest assured about you. 031 Nami strikes. Spike the East Blue Overlord recruiting crew members. Qualifications ordinary. Reward 5 adventure coins, sitting cross-legged on the figurehead of the Sunny. Luffy looked at the evaluation given by the system and was not surprised. He also took a look at his panel. Nothing else had changed. The only difference was lifespan and hockey. Lifespan, 1770 seconds, originally 70. Hockey. Observation LV1. Armament LV1. Conquerors LV2. The level here means that eating a hockey fruit gives you level 1, and 2 fruits give you level 2. Of course, you can also train and improve your level. Probably when it reaches level 5, it will reach the advanced stage of hockey, Luffy thought. Level 5 observation, future sight. Level 5 armament, emission. Level 5 conquerors, domination. As long as I eat 11 more, I'll have enough adventure coins. 2,200, Luffy said. The current adventure coins, 135. He needed to find a way to earn more adventure coins. Currently, recruiting high-quality crew members should be the fastest way. Thinking carefully, how many crew members did he have now? The Sunny, for people. The Mary, for people. Too few. In the East Blue, were there any suitable targets? Luffy fell in a deep thought. Just as he was thinking, the Mary slowly caught up from the left side. Usopp, Johnny, and Joseph were holding fishing rods. Hey, Usopp, what are you guys fishing for? Luffy jumped down from the figurehead and walked to the edge of the ship to greet them. Where's Zoro? Joseph Kaido replied. Luffy, Zoro is training up there. Hey, Luffy, do you smell something delicious? Usopp sniffed his nose. It must be Sanji cooking. Luffy turned his head to look. Sly. Too sly. How can you enjoy it alone? I want to eat too. You can cook it yourself. Is the ingredients all used up? There is still plenty on the Sunny. I'll give you some. Johnny said listlessly. Usopp only knows how to cook a few dishes, and we're tired of them. Hey, I'm not a professional chef. Usopp pretended to be on the verge of death. Luffy, I have a disease that will kill me if I don't eat food cooked by Sanji. Please ask her to cook more. Luffy made an okay gesture with his pen. Joseph suddenly remembered something and became excited. Speaking of chefs, I know a really talented chef. Luffy, why don't we recruit one? Barachi. Luffy immediately thought of someone. His good buddy with the green seaweed hair, the perverted Kappa Sanji. Yes, the Baratai, floating restaurant. Joseph nodded repeatedly. Luffy, have you heard of it? It's a famous restaurant in the East Blue, and it's even located on the sea. Then let's go take a look. I'll ask Nami how to get there. Luffy nodded. Barachi, this floating restaurant located in the Sabaody Sea in the East Blue, is the most famous restaurant in the East Blue, known for its culinary skills. Its appearance is that of a giant ship with fish-shaped figureheads on both ends. When threatened, the entire ship can transform into a battle mode. The chefs in the restaurant are also formidable characters, rumored to have once been pirates. The owner and head chef of the restaurant is even a pirate captain. Of course, this is just a rumor and has not been confirmed. 2 days later, the Sunny and the Mary finally arrived at their destination. That's the floating restaurant. Joseph pointed to a large ship in the distance. On the deck of the Sunny, Nami raised her hand and looked into the distance. That's a pirate ship. Upon hearing this, Usopp picked up his binoculars to observe. A ship larger than the restaurant was docked near the Baratai. Did they encounter a maritime disaster? That ship looks shabby. It's the flag of the East Blue Overlord. Johnny swallowed nervously. The East Blue Overlord? The Krieg Pirates. They're the most powerful pirate group in the East Blue. Admiral Krieg has a bounty of 17 million berries. That 3-decked giant sailboat is his flagship, the Dreadnought Saber. Johnny realized what he had just said. 17 million? Just 17 million. What is there to be afraid of? Arlong, who had 20 million, ended up becoming a dead fish, didn't he? He is now a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, with Zoro as the captain and Luffy as the captain. Thinking of this, he suddenly became more confident. But, speaking of which, why did Krieg's ship become so dilapidated? Because they were being chased by Hawkeye. Luffy wanted to laugh. This unlucky group finally made it to the Grand Line, only to encounter one of the Shichibukai Hawkeye. However, they were a few days late. According to the original story, Luffy's route was to go to the restaurant first before going to Nami's hometown. But he did the opposite, first dealing with Arlong's group before going back to Bartai, and ended up meeting them. Let's go to the restaurant first. The group quickly headed towards Bartai. After getting off the ship, they saw that the door of the restaurant was open, and there were hardly any customers on the first floor of the restaurant, except for one person standing at the entrance. What a terrible restaurant. They actually made me eat such a terrible dessert. I've decided Krieg, will take over this ship, and I will challenge the Grand Line again. You stinking chefs, if you don't want to die, submit to me. Wearing a golden armor, a man roared loudly, and it was Admiral Krieg. With a loud roar, 2 cannons emerged from under the shoulder of the golden armor, aiming at the chefs in the restaurant. Now prepare 100 servings of food for me. My men are still hungry. Understand? The chefs were momentarily speechless, seemingly intimidated by his aura. At this moment, they heard the sound of footsteps behind them. Krieg frowned, but before he could turn around, a hand was already pressed against the back of his head. Get out of the way. Boom! Krieg suddenly lost his balance, and his head was forcefully pressed into the ground with a heavy force. His face was embedded into the floor. The chefs watched this scene in shock. A group of 5 men and 3 women entered from outside. The one leading them wore a straw hat, and it was this person who subdued Krieg with a single move. Who are you people? Sanji, lying on the ground, exclaimed in astonishment. Luffy retracted his hand and walked towards the dining table. Be careful. Sanji suddenly changed his expression and hurriedly reminded. Behind Luffy, Krieg, with a grim face, climbed up from the ground. Who are you brats? How dare you? Before he could vent his anger, a blade was already pressed against his neck. Zoro stared at him with a slanted eye and said indifferently, If you don't want to die, you better leave now. What was it, Krieg? After speaking, he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the other party and sat down at the dining table with Luffy. Nami supported Kaya and whispered, Be careful. Your health is not good. Thank you, Nami. The group of people walked past Krieg one after another, completely ignoring his existence. For a moment, only the footsteps of Luffy and his group could be heard. Seeing this scene, the chefs swallowed nervously, sensing something bad. Krieg trembled all over, not out of fear, but out of anger. His face turned red, veins popping on his forehead, clearly on the verge of going berserk. You damn brat. Krieg spread his arms to the sides, aiming the cannons on his shoulders at Luffy's table, and shouted as he pulled the trigger. Nami sighed, and her figure moved. Almost instantly, she appeared in front of Krieg, her slender leg sweeping across. Luffy said, You're in the way. Don't you understand? I hate pirates the most. Tempest Kick, a lightning-fast kicking technique, turned the air into a silver slash. The golden armor protecting Krieg's body shattered under this attack, his chest torn apart by the slash. Blood splattered, and his whole body was sent flying out of the restaurant. Boom! His body crossed tens or hundreds of meters and crashed into his own pirate ship. Silence. Now, it was completely silent. 32 monsters from the Grand Line. Nami defeated the East Blue Overlord, Admiral Krieg, with one move. The chefs in the restaurant were all wide-eyed and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. After being stunned for a while, everyone finally regained their senses. I can't believe it. Is this woman really human? How did those slender legs unleash such powerful force? She shattered that suit of armor. They felt like their worldview had been overturned. Who are these people? Hey, Nami seemed to realize that she had gone too far and stuck out her tongue. So cute. Sanji, who was still lying on the ground, was instantly captivated. Feeling a slightly creepy gaze, Nami quickly ran over and sat next to Luffy. Is that Marine 6 Styles? At this moment, A man wearing a very tall chef's hat and with a twisted golden beard walked down the central staircase of the restaurant. His right leg was a wooden prosthetic, and when he looked at Nami, he grinned. Marine 6 Styles Tempest Kick. It is rumored that those who can master all 6 styles can break the limits of the human body and reach the realm of superhumans. Chef Zeph! The chefs called out one after another. You fools! Do you want the customers to eat in such a messy restaurant? Go clean up. Yes, yes, chef. Zeph scolded them dissatisfiedly and then walked over to Luffy's table. I am Zeph, the chef and owner of this restaurant. Little girl, are you a Marine? Me? I am Nami, the navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates. Nami's expression seemed a bit unnatural, and she discreetly reached under the table and rubbed her leg. What is this idiot doing? Luffy glanced at her, feeling somewhat speechless. She has only mastered 2 styles, and her body's toughness is nowhere near the level of a superhuman. Why would she kick iron? Look at what you can do. While silently criticizing her, Luffy placed Nami's right leg on his knee and gently rubbed it. Now you know it hurts, right? I thought it was pure gold. I didn't expect it to be iron underneath. Nami felt a bit embarrassed and awkward. Pure gold is a very soft metal, and iron is about twice as hard as it. You can kick if you want, but why get so close? Luffy didn't know what to say. Tempest Kick can be used for long-range attacks. I'm sorry. Nami apologized with a smile, enjoying the feeling of being cared for and loved. Not bad. I made a profit. She thought happily. The two of them sat together and whispered to each other, while Zeph was stunned. Pirates? Where did pirates learn Marine 6 styles? He had sailed in the Grand Line for a year, encountered pursuit from officers of the headquarters, and witnessed the so-called 6 styles. If it weren't for good luck, he might have already perished. Boss, please bring the food. I'm starving. Usopp, sitting on Luffy's right, was like a dried fish. Zoro, bring some sake. I want juice. Kaya, what do you want? I'll just have juice too. Then 3 servings of juice. Do all you men want to drink alcohol? After confirming again, No Kigo took the initiative to help with ordering. Luffy didn't say a word the whole time, busy massaging Nami's legs. As for what he likes to eat, both Nami and No Kigo are well aware, and there's no need to speak up. Thank you for helping out and resolving the trouble at the restaurant. I will personally treat you all, and everything today is free. Feel free to order whatever you want to eat. Zeph smiled and glanced at the 8 people on the table, finally stopping at Luffy. This must be the captain, a subordinate who can defeat Krieg in an instant. The captain's fighting power can be imagined. He is definitely a hidden master. It's free? Thank you very much. Upon hearing it was free, Luffy became quite happy and immediately thanked them. Sanji, come help. Got it, you old fart. Please wait a moment, guests. Sanji got up from the ground, dusted off his clothes, rolled up his sleeves, and followed Zeph into the kitchen. Inside the kitchen, Zeph was already busy, skillfully preparing dishes and heating up the oil. Sanji silently assisted on the side. What's wrong? Sanji, who was cutting vegetables, paused. What is Marine 6 styles? Hee, I thought you wouldn't ask. Zeph smiled and said shave, tempest kick, moonwalk, iron body, paper arts, finger pistol. Those are techniques that only monsters from the Grand Line can master. Each one is immensely powerful. Even I have only witnessed a few of them. After hearing this, Sanji was very surprised. They're from the Grand Line. That's why they have such monstrous strength, able to defeat East Blue's ruler Krieg with just one move. You saw it too, the sorry state Krieg was in. I didn't mean he was kicked away by that girl named Nami, but before that. Sanji recalled what happened half an hour ago. A huge pirate ship arrived in the thick fog, scaring away all the customers. Afterwards, a starving Krieg walked into the restaurant, begging for food and promising to leave after eating. Knowing the pain of hunger, Sanji made him a meal, but the other party knocked him down after eating his fill. Sanji wasn't surprised by this outcome, nor did he regret making that meal. It's just that, before that, why did East Blue's ruler Krieg fall to the point of begging for food here? He went to Grand Line, didn't he? A foolish idiot who underestimated himself. Zeph chuckled. There were rumors recently that Admiral Krieg led a large fleet with thousands of subordinates into the Grand Line. Sanji was completely shocked. What exactly is the Grand Line? How did such a large fleet end up in such a state? So, Sanji, do you understand now? At this point, Zeph stopped cooking, grinned, and said, "That's what the Grand Line is like. I know your dream since you were young. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to ask them to let you join their crew. With their strength, you can surely survive in that magical sea. They just happen to be missing a chef." Sanji was stunned. "Old fart. How did you know?" "Hands," Zeph confidently concluded. "None of those people have the hands of a professional chef. 033, you two sisters really know how to play. Old man stinker. You want me to become a pirate? What a joke. I won't leave here." Sanji remained silent. The two of them focused on cooking. Soon, the dishes were completed one by one. Sanji picked up the plates and also grabbed 3 glasses of juice. As he walked out of the kitchen, he couldn't forget what Zeph had said. My childhood dream. What was my dream? To find a legendary all blue. It is a mysterious sea area that contains all the world's seafood ingredients. It is a paradise for chefs and also a shared dream between him and Zeph. Whether it exists or not, I don't know. No, it definitely exists. It must be somewhere in the Grand Line. And those people, they come from the Grand Line. While thinking like this, Sanji had already arrived at the dining table. 3 lovely ladies. I am the assistant chef here, Sanji. With beauty in front of him, Sanji immediately put his dream aside and elegantly placed the dishes in front of the 3 women. These are desserts specially prepared for the 3 of you. Please enjoy. The desserts were made with great delicacy, clearly showing the effort put into them. Hey, what about ours? Usopp complained. Forget about the desserts. Where are the dishes we ordered? The ones for you men will be ready soon. Ignoring Usopp and the other men, Sanji changed his expression to a pig-like one and said to Nami, "Your name is Nami, right? Lovely Miss Nami. May I have the honor of inviting you to dine with me?" "No need." Nami felt annoyed and decisively refused. She then used a spoon to scoop a strawberry from the dessert and brought it to Luffy's mouth. "Luffy, this is your favorite strawberry." "Ah," she smirked. Are they intentionally showing off their affection in front of others? Luffy thought to himself. He knew Nami inside out and could tell what she was thinking just by looking at her expression. In the face of this situation, what else could he do? He had no choice but to play along. He took a bite of the strawberry that was brought to his mouth. "Assistant Chef Sanji, did you make this?" "It's a great dessert," he praised with a smile. Upon hearing this, Sanji felt like his hair was about to catch fire. "That was something I prepared with great care." "Damn it, it was eaten by a man." "Calm down, Sanji." 3 lovely ladies. It was just a setback in front of the first one. Since she already has someone, Sanji decisively gave up and turned his attention to Nami. "Beautiful lady, can you tell me your name?" Nami had been holding back her laughter the whole time. As an older sister, she saw through her sister's intentions at a glance. Facing Sanji's approach at this moment, her heart skipped a beat. She immediately followed suit and scooped a spoonful of milkshake, bringing it to Luffy's mouth and scolded, "You can't just eat Nami's, Luffy. Try mine too, Luffy. You 2 sisters really know how to play. Sanji is going to be played by you 2. He glanced at Nami, who was about to burst into laughter, and quickly opened his mouth to eat Nami's milkshake. "Well, this one is not bad either, Assistant Chef Sanji. Your cooking skills are amazing." Luffy gave a thumbs up. Sanji was petrified. "Sister, let me taste yours too. Is yours even more delicious?" Nami added a knife to the wound at the perfect moment. What? They're sisters too? Sanji's eyes were spewing fire, jealousy twisting his mind. He took a deep breath. Sanji gritted his teeth and turned his gaze towards the last person. Kaya, with her gentle and weak appearance, seemed to be frightened by Sanji's expression. Before he could speak, she looked at Luffy with a pleading look. "Beautiful." Before he could say the word lady, Sanji couldn't continue. Her eyes showed resistance from the inside out. Sanji felt like he had been struck by lightning. He stood there like a wilted vegetable and could only say, "Please enjoy your meal." He walked back to the kitchen in a daze. Nami couldn't help but burst into laughter, holding her stomach. "You guys are so mean." Luffy rolled his eyes. For a man, it's not a big deal to be rejected. But to be rejected while another man is being attentive to them, that's what really hurts. Poor Sanji, being played by these two sisters. Because he's so rude, what does he think of you? He doesn't even care about you. Nami pursed her lips. That's the reason why she's angry. It's okay to come over and flirt, but to be so rude to their own crewmate, it's hard not to want to fight back. I see. Usopp pounded his fist into his palm and raised his thumb. Well done, Nami. That lecherous expression. Zoro grinned. Just draw it. Drawing? Johnny eagerly raised his hand. Zoro, let me try. Oh, show some enthusiasm, Johnny. Can't lose to Nami and the others. Joseph agreed wholeheartedly. Suddenly, the dining table was filled with a cheerful atmosphere. On the other side, outside the restaurant, the Krieg pirates. Admiral Krieg, a man with deep dark circles and thick lips, kept shaking Krieg's body. Krieg gradually regained consciousness, clutching his chest wound, his face turning pale. Escape. What happened? What's going on? The man with dark circles was shocked. Who injured you? He is Krieg Pirates battle commander, known as Demon Man, Arlong, with a bounty of 12 million berries. Escape. Take me, escape. Krieg struggled to speak. Who is it? Is it that man? The man with Hawkeye? Arlong couldn't believe it. Did that guy chase after us? From the Grand Line? How ridiculous. No. Krieg grabbed Arlong's arm and repeated, Take me, escape. He was completely terrified of that woman's kick. He didn't care about ships or the Grand Line at this moment. He just wanted to escape from here. However, on the sea surface about a kilometer away from the restaurant, a black boat made of coffin boards was slowly approaching. A candle emitting green light was lit on each side of the boat, resembling ghostly flames. A man with eagle-like sharp eyes sat quietly on the boat. His legs crossed, his hands clasped in front of him, and a black cross-like long knife on his back. Obstacle. Seemingly noticing the huge warship blocking his path, Hawkeye stood up and reached for the handle of the knife behind him. In the next moment, two invisible slashes flew across, spanning a distance of over 1,000 meters. In an instant, they cut Krieg's massive warship into 3 pieces. Boom! The warship capsized, and the sea surged. 034. There is no reason to stop a man from pursuing his dreams. Boom! The surging waves swept in all directions. The once stable sea restaurant, Bar Thai, also experienced violent fluctuations with the waves. Inside the restaurant, Sanji served the delicacies on the table. Just as Zoro and the others were about to enjoy their meal, the ship beneath their feet tilted. What's going on? Usopp quickly caught the wine glass that almost toppled over. It's Hawkeye. Luffy raised an eyebrow and looked towards the outside of the restaurant. The enormous warship belonging to Krieg was now in 3 pieces and sinking little by little. Hawkeye! Zoro's drinking motion paused, and with a loud bang, he crushed the wine glass in his hand and stood up abruptly, his expression changing. Hawkeye! Sanji couldn't help but ask, who is that? One of the 7 warlords of the sea recognized by the government. Luffy casually explained, the world's strongest swordsman. If he wasn't a Shichibukai, his bounty would probably be 3.5 billion. 3.5 billion. Not only Sanji, but everyone was shocked by this number. In the East Blue, where the average bounty was 3 million, pirates with over a billion bounty had never appeared, let alone a bounty in the tens of billions. Luffy. Zoro's body trembled, a mix of excitement and fear. But he was smiling. I told you. We would meet him sooner or later. If you want to go, let's go. Luffy smiled as well. In the next moment, Zoro rushed out. Hey, what are you doing? Sanji was stunned. I set sail to find this man. Zoro walked out of the restaurant without hesitation. Sanji was dumbfounded for a moment, put down the plate in his hand, and followed suit. We'll go watch the fight too. Luffy smiled faintly. When everyone arrived outside the restaurant, they happened to see Hawkeye sitting in a small boat in the distance, leisurely entering their field of vision as if taking a stroll in the afternoon. It's really him. Zoro took off the bandana on his arm and tied it around his head. Then, he jumped onto the wreckage of the warship, drew the sword at his waist, and pointed the blade at Hawkeye, who was approaching from afar. Is this guy crazy? Does he want to challenge that monster? Sanji's emotions fluctuated, and he looked at Luffy abruptly. Aren't you going to stop him? You're the captain, right? Although they had only known each other for less than 10 minutes. This group of people did help the restaurant out of a difficult situation and defeated Krieg. No, even without all this, he would still want to watch others die. Why should I stop him? Luffy shook his head. Can that green seaweed head win? He might lose or even die. Then why don't you stop him? Are you going to watch your subordinates go to their deaths? Sanji's emotions gradually became more agitated. Luffy laughed. There's no reason to stop a man from pursuing his dream. Sanji fell silent. His hand trembled slightly, and he took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and lit one for himself. Big brother Zoro. Johnny and Yasaka watched this scene nervously. As the ship approached slowly, Hawkeye on the ship finally noticed Zoro's presence. Finding someone drawing a sword against him, he found it interesting. In an instant, he appeared in front of Zoro. You seem free. Care to have a few rounds with me? Zoro grinned and extended an invitation. I am free indeed. You seem to be a skilled swordsman. Faced with the challenge, Hawkeye didn't draw his supreme sword, the black blade Yuru, from behind. Instead, he took off a small knife hanging in front of his chest. His attitude was extremely contemptuous. Of course, he also had the qualifications for it. Zoro couldn't stand this insult. His eyes darkened. You look down on me? Unlike those foolish lions who need to give their all to catch rabbits. This is enough to pass the time. Hawkeye held the toy-like small knife, raising an eyebrow as he said provocative words. Zoro didn't say much, immediately launching an attack with his three-sword style. I don't care if you die. The two engaged in a fierce battle. No, calling it a battle would clearly be subjective. It was just one-sided mockery. Facing the famous swordsman of the East Blue, the monstrous pirate hunter, Hawkeye easily blocked many of his opponent's moves with just a toy knife. Everything seemed like a leisurely stroll, just as he had said, merely passing the time. The onlookers in front of the restaurant were completely shocked. Sanji's smoking motion froze in the scene, completely dumbfounded. However, the next scene made their pupils contract even more. When Zoro launched a series of fierce attacks, but failed to touch any part of Hawkeye's clothes. Zoro understood, just as Captain Luffy had said, the difference between the two sides was as vast as the difference between the moon and a firefly. He used his proudest move, the three-sword style's secret technique, 3,000 worlds. Faced with such a serious strike, Hawkeye seemed satisfied as well. He responded to Zoro's expectations with the world's strongest blade, the Black Blade Yuru. In the end, the two passed each other. Hawkeye maintained his swinging motion and scathed. The two swords held by Zoro were instantly shattered and cracked. A stream of blood sprayed from his chest. I lost, Sanji muttered absent-mindedly. It's like an adult and a child. Even someone like me who knows nothing can understand. Didn't Zoro himself know? The difference between people, between swordsmen, is so great that the outcome is already decided in the moment they start fighting. But the next scene once again moved him, even making him feel the burning will of the other person. The scars on the back are a swordsman's shame. Admitting defeat, Zoro opened his arms, welcoming Hawkeye's judgment. Amazing. Faced with this determination, Hawkeye smiled for the first time, and with an approving tone, he swung down his sword. A flower of blood bloomed on Zoro's chest, and he smiled, even enduring a near-fatal blow with a sense of satisfaction. Splash! He fell into the water. Zoro, big brother! Johnny and Yasaku shouted in shock, about to rush out and kill the BD Hawkeye. Luffy grabbed both of them by the shoulders. Luffy, big brother, just hold me like this. Otherwise, I'll definitely kill that BD. Johnny declared as the sword god. The captain comes first. You guys just wait. Luffy laughed, took off his straw hat, and put on Nami's head. Take care of this for me. Lou. Nami opened her mouth, nervously wanting to stop him. Luffy jumped to the spot where Zoro had been before. Who are you? Hawkeye raised an eyebrow. The captain with the green seaweed hair. You're also free? Hawkeye smiled. No, I'm not that free. Luffy squeezed his right palm, and his bones made a cracking sound. He calmly said, You've injured my crewmate. I can't just ignore it. I'll beat you up a bit do you mind, Dracula my hawk?" As soon as he finished speaking, thump, 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 the sound of the liberation drum rang out. A silver-white, mysterious figure suddenly appeared in front of Hawkeye. 035 Zoro, your wife will lend me some use. Has the appearance changed? Hawkeye stared at the silver figure in front of him, feeling puzzled. The sound of footsteps, like the sound of drums. No, that's the sound of a heartbeat. Is this a person with abilities? Changing posture, strengthening the body, obviously a characteristic of Zoan. But not an ordinary Zoan, right? A mythical beast? In East Blue, there are experts like you. What's your name? Hawkeye showed an interested expression. Monkey D. Luffy. This name is the one mentioned by the red-haired person. Hawkeye's mouth curled up. Sorry, I'm only interested in swordsmen. You don't seem to be one, so I have no reason to fight you. Upon hearing this, Luffy looked towards the direction of the restaurant. Sanji dragged the injured Zoro out of the sea. Hey, Zoro, can I borrow your wife for a moment? Cough, cough. Zoro's chest was bleeding profusely, and his consciousness was almost fading. Upon hearing this, he couldn't help but be stunned. Wife. Are they talking about a sword? Indeed, for a swordsman, their beloved sword is almost like a wife, never leaving their side for 24 hours. They don't even treat their wives as seriously as their swords. The 3 swords that were originally, they were cut by Hawkeye, leaving only one, pure white, one of the 21 great grade swords, Wado Ikemonji. Zoro lay on the ground, holding on to Wado Ikemonji tightly, even though he was on the verge of death, and handed it to Sanji. Take it. Sanji gasped for breath, looked at Zoro, and then glanced at Luffy and Hawkeye not far away. Gritting his teeth, he took Wado Ikemonji and threw it away forcefully. One after another, they're all crazy. Thank you. Luffy received the sword, but didn't draw it. Instead, he chuckled. Now I'm a swordsman. Although he didn't know any swordsmanship at all. Before Hawkeye could say anything, the wreckage of the ship under their feet suddenly began to soften. It was affected by the ability of Nika and turned into rubber. Luffy stomped his foot, and with the elasticity of the rubber, he suddenly shot up into the sky. Hawkeye was filled with doubt. Paramecia? The ability to affect external objects? This is obviously a characteristic of paramecia. He didn't have a chance to ponder over it. Luffy, who had flown into the sky, suddenly extended his palm. His right hand swelled up with the wind, instantly transforming into a colossal object. Like a Mount Wuji, he grabbed the wreckage of the huge warship that was about to sink and fiercely threw it towards Hawkeye. It's become gigantic. Sanji's face was full of astonishment. The Straw Hat crew members were equally stunned. The many chefs hiding at the entrance of the restaurant, as well as the owner Zeph who rushed over upon hearing the commotion, all stared in disbelief at everything that was happening. The only ones injured were the hungry members of the Krieg pirates among the wreckage. Together with the wreckage, they were all thrown towards Hawkeye. What a ridiculous ability. Hawkeye swung his black sword, Yuru, and with a single strike, he cut through the wreckage of the warship. At this moment, the colossal hand that covered the sky had already disappeared from sight. Luffy, who was hidden behind the wreckage, quickly approached Hawkeye's body. A white leg, gradually turning black as it was dyed with haki, fiercely kicked towards his abdomen. A feint attack? Hawkeye calmly defended with his sword. However, this attack didn't get blocked as he had expected. When the leg hit his black sword, an unbelievable scene occurred. His strongest blade, Yuru, softened and couldn't stop anything at all. Bang! A solid kick landed on his abdomen, almost as if it was going to pierce through his body. Hawkeye's pupils contracted, and his whole body was sent flying. He was like a small stone thrown forcefully, skipping across the surface of the sea. Thud! 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 In an instant, he flew hundreds of meters away, his body losing balance as it rose and fell on the surface of the sea. The onlookers stared wide-eyed, their expressions filled with disbelief. Luffy's laughter echoed in the sky. With a step in the void, white flames emerged beneath his feet, resembling a missile as it chased after Hawkeye. Striking first. Before Hawkeye could stabilize his position, Luffy had already caught up to him. With a single swing, his fist rapidly expanded, instantly becoming 100 meters in diameter. White giant pistol, his fist, now rapidly darkening, was enveloped in armament Haki. A giant punch descending from the sky. Boom! Hawkeye was punched into the sea, causing towering waves to surge. The sea remained turbulent for a long time. The enormous fist quickly returned to its original state, while Luffy stood in midair, using observation Haki to search for Hawkeye's presence. Don't tell me that's it? Where's the challenge? It's not even a warm-up. Beneath the sea surface, Hawkeye held his breath. Such formidable attack power. If it weren't on the sea, I would have been injured. Is that the kid, red-haired, mentioned? Is it him? With too many doubts to bother thinking, he decided to turn around and ask. At this moment, Hawkeye gripped his black sword, Yuru, and used observation Haki to lock onto the silver-white figure in the sky, swinging his sword with all his might. In an instant, a 100-meter-long trench tore through the sea surface. The deep green slash soared into the sky, as if it could pierce through the heavens. The dazzling blade aura swept towards Luffy. This is Summit War's strike aimed at Whitebeard. Luffy recognized it at a glance. White flames emerged beneath his feet once again, evading the attack. This slash passed through Luffy's original position, heading straight towards the sky. Boom! After leaping 1,000 kilometers, it created a huge hole in the sky, shattering the white clouds above. What kind of battle is this? The onlookers in the distance were shocked beyond belief. Is this the world of 3.5 billion? Splitting the ocean with a single slash, tearing through the sky with a sword aura? The silver-white figure stood proudly in mid-air, shining like a sun in the sunlight. So these are the monsters of the Grand Line? Sanji gasped, stunned by the spectacle. Zoro strained to lift his head, staring unblinkingly at the distant battle. Both Luffy and Hawkeye were unimaginably powerful at this moment. The gap between them was like an insurmountable chasm. In the next moment, Hawkeye leaped out of the torn ocean and landed steadily on his own coffin ship. He looked up. This place doesn't suit your abilities, Monkey D. Luffy. I'll remember that. He sheathed his black sword. You're running away? Luffy chuckled lightly. He completely ignored the fact that he had just been kicked. Unfortunately, he still couldn't use a mission, so he couldn't infuse Haki into the enemy's body for internal damage. Otherwise, that kick just now would have definitely made Hawkeye cough up blood. Strong individuals like you won't stay confined to this weakest of seas. I'll be waiting for you in the Grand Line. Hawkeye grinned, completely unfazed by the provocation. As far as killing time was concerned, this trip to the East Blue had far exceeded expectations. You're not waiting for me, but for my captain. Luffy saw that Hawkeye had lost his fighting spirit and wasn't interested in continuing the confrontation. Treasure your remaining time. The title of the world's greatest swordsman will soon change hands. Is that so? Then I'll look forward to it. Satisfied, Hawkeye left. He couldn't wait to have a good chat with Red-Haired. Is this the brat you were talking about? That kick just now, it hurt a bit. 036 Shapu. Can you take this unsightly BD away? Hawkeye has left. He left on his coffin boat. Watching him go, Luffy couldn't help but wonder. Maybe this guy will go crazy and row his black sword in a corner where no one could see. Otherwise, at this speed, he'll starve to death before he sees the island. This place doesn't suit your style. Luffy recalled what Hawkeye had said. Luffy admitted that he had indeed been holding back. After all, Nami and the others were nearby, and if he made a slightly bigger move, Bartai would capsize. Hawkeye also noticed this, so he wasn't interested in continuing to fight with someone who wasn't serious. Thinking of this, Luffy leaped back to the restaurant, leaving a perfect arc trajectory in the air. In the blink of an eye, he was standing in front of Zoro. Luffy, big brother, Mr. Luffy. Everyone called out his name. Luffy activated the power of the sun fruit. The sunlight shone on him, forming a faint halo on his body. In an instant, his strength was restored. Are you dead? Here you go. Luffy placed the Wado Ikemonji next to Zoro and sat down cross-legged, smiling. How do you feel? Sorry, Zoro had recovered a little, but his face was still pale as paper. He lost. He lost miserably. At the same time, he also witnessed the vastness of the world. I won't lose again. System prompt. Crew member Zoro awakens indomitable spirit. Reward 1,000 adventure coins. The sudden system prompt startled Luffy. 1,000. It was the first time he had seen a 4-digit reward. Is this the reward for training crew members? Is this the correct way to obtain adventure coins? Good, very spirited. After realizing your own weakness, you still dare to stand up and climb the peak. This is the quality that a strong person should have. As the captain, Luffy encouraged him and took out a fruit from his pocket. Eat it. Zoro didn't hesitate at all. He didn't know what it was, but since Luffy handed it to him, he ate it. Reaching out and grabbing the healing fruit, he took a bite. Gulp. In the moment he swallowed it, time on his body twisted. The blood in his chest quickly solidified. Wounds healed, pain disappeared, and his strength was restored. Everything was as if it had returned to before he challenged Hawkeye. What is this? Everyone except Nami looked at this scene in astonishment. Sanji couldn't help but open Zoro's clothes, looking at his muscles full of power, his chest. Gone. The wounds are gone. What the hell is this that you gave him to eat? After a moment of stunned silence, Sanji couldn't help but ask. Healing fruit. Luffy had already prepared his explanation. It's a product of technology, something made to mimic devil fruits. Devil fruits are legends in the East Blue. Zoro felt a lightness in his body and couldn't help but grin. He quickly slapped Sanji's hand away and said with a disgusted expression on his face, "Get your hand off me. It's gross." What did you say? You green seaweed head. You perverted Kappa. I used to think you liked women, but it seems I misjudged. Sanji's eyes shot fire as he pressed his forehead against Zoro's, saying fiercely, I won't lose again. You have no future. I'll send you to hell now. Luffy chuckled. A person's personality determines the way they interact with others. Even if they've just met, it still ends up like this. Here, Nami walked over and returned the straw hat, scolding, You really scared us just now. Don't worry, I'm strong. There aren't many people in the world who can beat me. Luffy laughed and got up, ruffling Nami's hair. Let's go, I'm hungry. Oh, Zeph, could you please bring another table of food? With everyone returning to the restaurant, Luffy suddenly remembered something and turned back. Oh, Zoro, the healing fruit I gave you earlier is worth 1 billion berries. You owe me 1 billion now, so work hard and pay me back. 1 billion? Are you a vampire? Zoro didn't even have time to argue with Sanji, clutching his own neck. Can I still spit it out now? Haha. The air was filled with a cheerful atmosphere. Restaurant. Zeph prepared another table of delicious food. Although Nami and Nojiko's cooking skills were not bad, there was still a gap compared to professional chefs. Everyone enjoyed this meal to their heart's content. Outside the door, Zoro walked in with 2 pirates. Luffy, these 2 pirates should be worth something. I just fished them out of the sea. He threw the people on the ground. One of them was the unconscious Krieg. As for the other, Johnny immediately said, It's Arlong, a member of Krieg's pirate crew. I remember his bounty is 12 million. Zoro, did you defeat him? When I fished him out, he was already half dead. Probably got caught up in the previous battle, right? Zoro shook his head. You're quite capable, Zoro. The 2 pirates add up to 29 million. You still owe 971 million berries. Keep working hard, Nami said with a smile. Hearing this, Zoro's face turned black. You vampires, enjoying good food here, while I'm working alone outside. Ha ha, it's because you owe Luffy money. I feel sorry for you. Usopp had a face begging to be punched, gloating. At this moment, Zeph walked out of the kitchen and brought out some dessert. Of course, there was no gender discrimination this time. Everyone got a share. Sanji reluctantly placed the dessert he carefully made in front of Usopp and the others. Enjoy it gratefully. There won't be such a good opportunity next time. Bang! Zeph swung his hat and heavily knocked Sanji on the head. You can't treat your benefactor like this, Sanji. You old fart. Sanji scratched his head and sighed. I'm sorry about what happened earlier. Apologies are useless now, Sanji. My restaurant doesn't welcome chefs like you, so get out. Zeph ruthlessly expelled Sanji. Sanji trembled all over. You want to kick me out? Are you kidding me? Ignoring him, Zeph turned to Luffy and grinned. Your ship is missing a chef. right? Can you take this annoying BD away? Upon hearing this, Luffy couldn't help but laugh. Sure, thanks, boss. 037 Sanji joins, and the adventure coins are a bumper harvest. Sanji is being foolish. With just a few words from Zeph and Luffy, he was sold? Although he understands Zeph's intention, which is to let him go and pursue his own dreams. But he hasn't repaid his debt of gratitude yet. Wait, Patty, Zeph shouted. Get rid of him, throw away all his belongings. Yes, boss. A chef named Patty immediately walked over, grinning, and grabbed Sanji's arm. Hurry up and get lost. Sanji, you've been fired, and the position of sous chef is mine now. Patty, UBD, let go of me. Carl, come help me. This kid is hard to handle. Oh, another chef walked over, and the two of them together supported Sanji and dragged him away. Dragged him upstairs. The Straw Hat crew was a bit confused. Luffy laughed. Is it necessary to do this? What about his own will? This guy's culinary skills haven't improved for a long time. Keeping him here is just a waste of life. Zeph shook his head. About 9 years ago, his ship encountered a disaster. In that natural disaster, he sacrificed one leg and saved a little boy. Later, he returned to East Blue and created the Baratai, a floating restaurant. And the little boy, because of the gratitude for back then, stayed here to learn culinary skills. In the blink of an eye, so many years have passed. He has his dreams. There's no reason to stop a man from pursuing his dreams. Zeph snapped back from his reminiscence. Straw Hat Luffy, by taking him away, you've done me a big favor. Are you going back to the Grand Line next? Back? Aren't you pirates from the Grand Line? Zeph was taken aback. I was just about to go. Why do you ask? A master like you, not from the Grand Line. Especially after seeing your battle with Hawkeye, I thought for sure you were. Zeph said in surprise. After all, he had never heard of the Straw Hat Pirates. If they were a pirate crew from East Blue, they would have already made a name for themselves. Since you're going to the Grand Line, then go to Logue Town. As he spoke, Zeph took out a logbook. This is my old sailing log from a year of sailing in the Grand Line. It should be helpful to you. As a thank you for taking that idiot away, I'll give it to you. No need. As for thanks, I've already eaten it. Luffy waved his hand and laughed. What logbook? He didn't need it. If they told him exactly where the legendary treasure was, then that would be a blessing. Upon hearing this, Zeph was momentarily stunned, then laughed. So, this is what they call the composure of a strong person? To you, the Grand Line isn't some treacherous sea, huh? I hope to hear your name spread throughout the world in the future, and back to East Blue. Don't die. I won't die. Thank you for your hospitality, Boss Zeph. Luffy stood up, casually picked up an unopened bottle of wine. Let's go. Time to go to the final stop. Set sail. Everyone got up and followed suit. Zoro pointed at himself. Wait, I haven't eaten yet. I save a bottle for you. Luffy threw the bottle to him. One by one, everyone left the restaurant, and the two wanted criminals were also brought onto the Mariejois. Soon, everything was ready to set sail at any time. Luffy, Nami, and the others stood on the Sunny Go, while Zoro, Usopp, and the others waited on the Mariejois. This is years of grudges. Sanji, hurry up and get lost. With a roar from Patty, Sanji was thrown down from the second floor. Then, there was another big package of luggage. You two bastards. Sanji looked back at the second floor, gazing at the restaurant, lost in thought for a moment. Finally, he picked up a big package of luggage and headed toward the pirate ship. Let's go. I wanted to leave for a long time. The thought of not having to look at your stupid faces anymore makes me so happy. Sanji lit a cigarette, and as soon as he looked up, he saw Nami and the others, immediately showing a loving expression. Miss Nami, I'm here. He excitedly jumped up. Luffy stood up and kicked Sanji onto the neighboring Mariejois before he landed. Which ship is the men's ship, Sanji? Don't get lost. Sanji, who was kicked onto the Mariejois, covered his face in confusion and suddenly grew a shark mouth. Luffy, UBD, why are you on that ship? Damn it, I'm so envious. I'm the captain. Luffy laughed. Don't you want to say goodbye to Zeph? Upon hearing this, Sanji slowly calmed down. No need. Is that so? Then, set sail. The two ships opened their sails, and slowly sailed away. Zeph walked to the restaurant door, looking at Sanji, and gently smiled. "Don't catch a cold, Sanji." With just a simple sentence of, "Don't catch a cold," Sanji's emotions burst forth, memories of over 10 years flooding his mind. Tears streamed down his face. He turned around and knelt down, shouting loudly, "Boss Zeph, I'm truly grateful for your care all these years. I will never forget your great kindness." With emotional roars, he instantly infected everyone. Zoro drank his sake and laughed. "A grown man crying is really ugly. I'll definitely kill you, you green seaweed head." Sanji cried while threatening. Luffy laughed heartily. "Set sail. Our destination is Logue Town. Recruiting crew member Sanji, genetically modified person with cooking skills. Reward 600 venture coins." Including Zoro's awakening reward from before, Luffy's adventure coin balance has now reached an astonishing 1,755. Only 2,200 for 11 hockey fruits. I'm almost there, right? Finally having some free time to organize his gains, Luffy sat at the bow of the Sunny Go, flipping through the system panel. He also took a look at Zoro's awakening skill, Indomitable Will. Possessing an iron-like will, this crew member is difficult to defeat in any difficulty and will achieve twice the results in training. This effect is lost when the crew member leaves. In simple terms, it speeds up the training process. Luffy rubbed his chin. This buff was really good. Why didn't he have it? Oh well, if he didn't have it, he didn't have it. His strength was all thanks to his own hard work and effort. Several days later, Logue Town Marine Base. Vice Admiral Garp, the base commander, Colonel Smoker, looked shocked at the intruder. "Haha, don't mind me. I'm just here to wait for a brat." Garp slapped a photo on the table. "Notify me immediately when you see this brat." Smoker looked down. In the photo was a young boy wearing a straw hat. 038, the first reward. The world famous as Luffy and his crew sailed towards Logue Town. Various places were undergoing changes due to their past actions. East Blue, Syrup Village. A warship slowly docked at the port, and the disciplined Marines lined up and disembarked. The ship's hull number indicated its identity as a warship from the Grand Line Naval Headquarters. "Colonel Lean, we have arrived. Let's go. Let's investigate the situation at the Marine base here." A middle-aged man wearing a cloak of justice stepped off the gangplank and led his team towards the town. A captain followed closely behind. "Vice Admiral Garp. He really knows how to be lazy. Leaving the work to you, Colonel." "It's not a good habit to talk behind someone's back, Captain." Lean shook his head, and his expression turned serious. "And Garp has his reasons for doing so." As they entered the town and walked along the streets, they noticed that the people here would occasionally cast strange glances at them. Lean immediately stopped someone and asked about what was happening here. This action seemed to trigger something, and more passers-by gathered, clamoring in response to his questions. The most common things they said were, "Thank you, Lord Luffy," and "Buggy is ABD." Afterwards, they arrived at the base of the 153rd branch and directly summoned the highest-ranking officer there. At the same time, in the prison, he met a female pirate with a bounty of 5 million, Alvida. After a thorough understanding of the situation, the matter was not complicated, and it was easily understood. The biggest question, however, was, the captain couldn't help but say, "Why does Vice Admiral Garp's grandson call himself a pirate? Colonel, is this how we report to headquarters?" This matter could be big or small, but it did bring shame to the headquarters. "Before coming here, Garp instructed me to report everything truthfully." Lean pondered for a moment and picked up a din mushy to make contact. Meanwhile, Kokoyashi Village. The warship of the 16th branch in East Blue arrived after many days of delay. They had a meeting with a Marine station here from the 153rd branch, and both sides had a frank exchange of their positions and opinions. In the end, "We absolutely cannot report this to higher-ups. Regarding Colonel Mouse's death, we can use the reason glorious death in the operation to exterminate the dragon pirates. What do you think?" An officer from the 16th branch said this while presenting a gift. Deluma accepted the gift and nodded in agreement. However, after others left, "This is truly rotten. The 16th branch is corrupt from top to bottom. They are a bunch of idiots. Lord Luffy is Vice Admiral Garp's grandson, and his voice reaches the highest levels, yet they still want to conceal it. Angry Deluma immediately took out a Din Mushi and reported all the information to the naval headquarters. Grand Line, Naval Headquarters, Marineford. Vice Admiral Tsuru, who is already 74 years old, received the intelligence summary from East Blue. After understanding all the contents, she immediately massaged her temples with a headache. How did the grassroots in East Blue become so rotten? Truly, small temple, big demon, shallow pond, many turtles. Garp wants me to help him conceal his grandson. If it was just a matter of the 153rd branch, it would be manageable, but he even beheaded the colonel of the 16th branch. Vice Admiral Tsuru sat in her office, clasping her hands together, and after a moment of contemplation, she called for a subordinate. Send this intelligence report over. Send it to Brand-New's side. Yes. Shortly after, in a meeting room at the headquarters, numerous high-ranking officers gathered, listening attentively to Meeting King Brand-New's detailed description with serious expressions. Everyone, the situation is serious. Major Brand-New slapped several photos onto the writing board. He had a head of green curly hair, wore sunglasses, had thick lips, and was wearing a white and blue striped shirt, draped in a marine cloak. You have all seen the detailed intelligence information. The emergence of the Straw Hat Pirates in the East Blue is definitely not something we can ignore. Take a look at what this kid has done. In the town of Shells, he incited the people and held a public trial, publicly executing Colonel Morgan. He defeated Clown Buggy with a bounty of 15 million berries in Orangetown. He even led the Marines to find 100 Plans Kuro, who had been missing for 3 years, in Syrup Village, with a bounty of 16 million berries. Then, he went to Kokoyasi Village and beheaded 16 branch colonels, while also wiping out the Fishman Dragon Pirates. Captain Arlong, you should be familiar with them, right? Former member of the Sun Pirates, with a bounty of 20 million berries. The expressions of the generals were subtle as they looked at each other. One of them couldn't help but say, "It's not like the behavior of a pirate. Although he calls himself a pirate, he hasn't attacked any civilians. On the contrary, the things he has done, I think they're pretty good." He didn't dare to say this out loud. After all, he called himself a pirate, and in such a serious situation, he couldn't speak casually. I heard he's Vice Admiral Garp's grandson. Is that true? Otherwise, why would the Marines of Branch 153 obey his orders? Even so, he did kill 2 branch colonels. Maybe his intentions are good, but his actions are quite despicable. In a sense, he's even more terrifying than ordinary pirates. Clap, clap. Brand-New tapped his writing board again and posted 2 more photos. Everyone, even if he is the descendant of a hero, even if those 2 idiots are troublemakers, there are many ways to seek justice. Monkey D. Luffy, with his identity, can directly contact headquarters. After that, everything will be handled properly under the procedure, instead of killing on his own. Maybe what he's doing is good, but his behavior is quite despicable. Therefore, my suggestion is Grand Line, New World, a certain island. A flying ship hidden in the forest. On the side of the airship's balloon was the logo of the world's largest news media, the World Economic News Agency. At this moment, in the president's office, Lord Morgan's, just now, Naval Headquarters sent a communication. A journalist handed over a fax. A new bounty? The president, in the form of an albatross, Lord Morgan's, curiously picked up the document and read it. Oh, so that's how it is. There's actually something like this. Interesting. This is quite a good piece of big news. After reading the information, he dropped 2 wanted posters from it. Lord Morgan's looked down at the photos and the bounties listed below them, unable to help but let out a strange laugh. In a place like the East Blue, to get such a bounty on their first wanted poster, and to continue tracking the news of the Straw Hat Pirates, I have a feeling that this will be the hot news of the year. After a pause, he waved his hand and announced loudly, "Now, let's hurry up and spread their portraits around the world in the shortest possible time." Yes, Lord Morgan's. As the owner of the world's largest news bird group, Lord Morgan's will is the direction of information dissemination. He is one of the 6 emperors of the underworld, the News King. In a short period of time, millions of news birds flew from various branches, flapping their wings and flying to all corners of the world. This time, the news delivery didn't even require anyone to pay. It was delivered directly. No need for newspapers priced at 100 berries. It's free. Any news bird, on its way to deliver news, would drop a freshly printed newspaper and include 2 brand new wanted posters to anyone they saw. East Blue, South Blue, West Blue, North Blue, Paradise, New World. The name of the Straw Hat Pirates spread throughout the world in one fell swoop. 039, a record bounty. Is this the background? The Newsbird group of Morgan's News wants to deliberately spread a message that can fill newspapers all over the world in just one day. For most people, it is only to know that a new emerging force called the Straw Hat Pirates has appeared in East Blue, and the captain's bounty seems to have broken the record of East Blue in recent years. But for a small group of people, the significance is completely different. Grand Line, near the entrance sea area. Hawkeye, who has just returned from East Blue, watched a news bird fly low over his head and dropped a newspaper. He reached out and caught the 2 wanted posters that fell from the newspaper. So quickly rewarded, Hawkeye looked at the face in the photo. The corners of his mouth lifted, revealing a meaningful smile. Roronoa Zoro, dead or alive. Bounty, 19 million berries. His gaze turned to another person. 71 million? The Marines don't really understand his true strength. What happened at the Bartai restaurant on the sea happened a few days ago. Being wanted, obviously not because of that incident, the Marines probably don't even know. Just, Hawkeye stared at Luffy's wanted poster, his expression showing a little confusion. The content on this is really interesting. Still Grand Line, near the Drum Kingdom. Still a small boat. No, it can't even be called a boat. Just enough space for one person to move. Besides an extremely crude sail, it also has a propulsion system, driven by flames, driving the paddles. The speed is extremely fast, like a fish shuttling on the sea. On this crude but technologically advanced small boat, a young man wearing an orange cowboy hat, bare-chested, with a tattoo ASC on his left arm, with a cross on the letter S. Luffy, is he finally coming? Ace grinned. 71 million? Not bad, Luffy. Don't worry, we'll meet soon. But the content on the wanted poster made him slightly puzzled. Still Grand Line. Baltaigo, known as the Island of White Soil. It is the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army led by the world's most vicious criminal, Monkey D. Dragon. At this time, on a balcony in the base, wearing a green cloak with a tattoo on his left face, Dragon held a wanted poster and looked out at the desolate scenery outside. Luffy, the tide of the times is rolling forward. Since you have chosen to set sail, don't stop. The world is waiting for our answer. While murmuring in his heart, he looked at the wanted poster again and saw something interesting. East Blue, Windmill Village. The small bar in the village is extremely lively today, with new wanted posters plastered all over the walls. The landlady, Makino, looked helplessly at the men celebrating. Everyone was drinking, and their faces were filled with joy. Look, that's Luffy. He has become a pirate with a bounty of 71 million. We should hang the wanted poster at the port. Ha ha, that kid Luffy. In all these years in East Blue, it's the first time I've seen such a high bounty criminal. He's truly the pride of our Windmill Village. But what does that sentence on the wanted poster mean? Nami's hometown, Kokoyashi Village. Here, there's also singing and dancing and a grand feast. It's Lord Luffy. Amazing. Much higher than that BD Arlong. Note, the translation provided is a faithful representation of the original Chinese text. However, it is important to note that some cultural and contextual nuances may be lost in translation. Marine is really unreliable. Let's just hang Luffy-sama's pirate flag at the entrance of the village. I want to see which foolish pirate would dare to come here. Some people were still suggesting, but Officer Ajien had already done so. He posted Luffy's wanted poster at the village entrance. Looking at the numbers on the wanted poster, he couldn't help but laugh. But upon closer inspection, he was stunned again. After a while, he smiled knowingly. So that's how it is. It makes sense. Marine still knows how to do some things. At the sea restaurant, Baratai, it's only been a few days, and he's already wanted. Patty held the bounty poster and admired it. Too bad I didn't get to see Sanji's idiotic face. Feeling lonely? A chef teased. Who's feeling lonely? That brat died out there. I'd be happy to clap my hands. Yeah. He's still here, and you two fight every day. Once he's gone, you keep mentioning Sanji every day. My ears are calloused. At that moment, Zeph came down the spiral staircase and smiled. What are you all standing around for? Put it up. Oh. The Straw Hat crew sailed smoothly, with clear skies and calm seas. On the deck of the Sunny, Nami brought over a table and chairs, leisurely reading the newspaper. Kaya was earnestly flipping through medical books, seemingly wanting to learn medicine. Luffy lay on the figurehead of the Sunny, taking a nap. Suddenly, a cry rang out. Luffy, what's wrong? Your bounty poster. And Zoro's. Two bounty posters fell from the folds of the newspaper, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Nami put down the water pot and walked down from the stairs. Are we wanted? It's Luffy and Zoro, Nami explained. The amounts are quite high. 19 million, 71 million. Kaya covered her mouth, extremely surprised. Luffy jumped over to the others in one leap. Looking down, he saw his own portrait and the corresponding bounty amount. 71 million berries. Not high, not low. Not high because if Marine knew what happened at Bartai, the bounty wouldn't be this low. Not low because the average bounty in East Blue is only 3 million, and the highest before seemed to be Arlong's 20 million. Wait a minute. Nami smiled as she admired Luffy's photo, but suddenly froze and pointed to a line above. What does this mean? Everyone then realized something was off. The two bounty posters had obvious differences. Monkey de Luffy. Only alive. Bounty. 71 million berries. Only alive. Luffy raised an eyebrow and remained calm. Oh, it's probably because of my grandpa's influence. Nami? Kaya? Maybe they want to capture me, and then my grandpa will rescue me from prison and finally force me to become a Marine. The three girls were speechless once again. Is this the background? 040, you don't want to be decent. I'll help you be decent. It's not really surprising to only allow for capturing alive. In the original work, Sanji, as the prince of the Goa Kingdom, had his bounty changed to only allow for capturing alive after his father made a deal with the government. Garp doesn't even need to make a deal. The naval headquarters would voluntarily change it to only allow for capturing alive out of respect for him. If we think from a perspective of the naval headquarters, they would also have a headache dealing with Luffy. On one hand, they can't just let him go and pretend they didn't see anything. On the other hand, this kid is the grandson of a Marine hero. After thinking it through, changing the bounty to only allow for capturing alive is a more emotionally intelligent approach. If they can capture him, let Garp decide how to handle it. My grandpa might already be in East Blue. We need to leave for the Grand Line as soon as possible. It wouldn't be good if we run into him. Luffy said helplessly. Nami, how much longer until we reach Log Town? Run into him? Nami thought to herself, Luffy's grandpa is also my grandpa. If we really run into him, what should I call him? Should I call him grandpa too? Or maybe father-in-law? Nami, what is it? Nami blushed and hurriedly replied, we should be able to reach there tomorrow. Luffy nodded and picked up Zoro's bounty poster. I'll go give it to him. That guy will definitely be smug for a while. Saying that, he extended his arm and shot off by grabbing onto the mast. The merry-go. After losing to Hawkeye, Zoro became even more diligent in his training. At this moment, he was doing one-handed push-ups with his bare upper body, sweat covering the ground. Not only that, he was also biting onto a heavy dumbbell and counting. Seemingly noticing Luffy's arrival, he stopped his training. Here, your bounty poster. What? A bounty poster? Where is it? Let me see. Usopp and the others rushed over upon hearing the news. Johnny saw Zoro's picture and the number below it and exclaimed, Zoro, you have a bounty of 19 million berries from the Marines. What? That's amazing. It's even higher than Admiral Krieg. Joseph exclaimed, 19 million. Usopp was dumbfounded. Zoro wiped away the sweat with a towel and proudly said, 19 million? Not bad. Even I have a bounty. Luffy, you must have one too, right? 71 million. Zoro turned and walked away. Where are you going, Zoro? Usopp immediately shouted. To train. Zoro quickly walked into the cabin. With such a high bounty, he would surely be targeted by bounty hunters. Once they entered the Grand Line, who knows what kind of monsters they would encounter. He had to make good use of every minute and second to become stronger. It wasn't about competing with Luffy or comparing bounties with the captain. It was because among all the members of the current team, only Luffy was strong enough. He had to keep up with him, and as the first mate, he had to have the power to protect the others in critical moments. Men's competitiveness. Usopp shook his head. I don't think so. Luffy smiled. This was exactly what he wanted, for Zoro to strive to become stronger. That's great. When will we also have bounties? Joseph said with longing. Not as high as Luffy, just hoping to keep up with Zoro and not become a burden. You'll be wanted sooner or later, Luffy said with a smile. Usopp's face turned green with fear. Just not this one thing, please. I've decided I'm going to train with Zoro. We're not here to tour the Grand Line. Johnny made a declaration of effort and immediately pulled Joseph to chase after Zoro. They're all fired up. Luffy smiled. By the way, have you seen Sanji? Sanji is in the storeroom, delivering food to those two pirates. The Mariejois storeroom. As prisoners, Krieg and Arlong were tied up like rice dumplings. Sanji placed 2 plates of fried rice in front of them, and they could only lower their heads and eat like dogs. We will soon arrive at the next town, where we will send you to the Marine base. That's what our captain said. Sanji sat down and lit a cigarette. Sanji, Akin's swallowing motion paused, and he hesitated to raise his head. I'm sorry. Krieg targeted Bartai because he led the way. And when he was almost starving to death, it was Sanji who gave him a bowl of fried rice. Although Krieg promised him not to attack the restaurant, only to fill his stomach. But obviously, their captain had no intention of keeping the agreement, and it was their own fault that they ended up in this situation. It's okay. Anyway, he was severely reprimanded by Miss Nami. Sanji blew out a smoke ring. While the two were talking, Krieg had already finished eating a bowl of fried rice. In a weak voice, he pleaded, Can you spare me? I won't dare anymore. I won't be a pirate anymore. From now on, I will be an honest person. It's really funny. Luffy walked in leisurely. Whether you're a pirate or want to be an honest person has nothing to do with us. If it weren't for getting the full bounty, I wouldn't even bother with your injuries. Dead bounty criminals can only receive 70% of the bounty. Only living pirates will Marine be willing to pay the full amount. Why does Marine have such a system? It should be to control devil fruit powers. When a user dies, the fruit will be reborn somewhere in the world. If the reborn fruit is eaten by someone else, it's as good as catching nothing. Of course, it's also possible that it's intentional to save money. After all, capturing alive is more difficult than killing. Luffy. Sanji stood up. Seeing the captain appear, Krieg abandoned his dignity and bowed excitedly. Captain Luffy, I'm willing to be your subordinate. Join your crew. You're also a pirate. There's no need to share the bounty with Marine. My bounty is only 17 million. I will help you get 10 times or 100 times that amount. It is common for pirate crews to merge with each other, with the loser becoming a subordinate of the winner. This has always been the case on the sea. Luffy's mouth curled up, his expression disdainful. You're too insignificant. What? Krieg was taken aback. You're too insignificant. The crew members around you are all stronger than you. Krieg's face changed. Akin is very powerful, but compared to me, he's still a bit lacking. Captain Luffy, I was just too weak before. When I fully recover, I will definitely become your capable. You simply don't understand. Luffy shook his head. You can't understand either. Sanji, no need to feed him anymore. We'll reach Logtown tomorrow. After saying that, he turned and left. Seeing the captain leave, Krieg became afraid. He looked at Sanji with a frantic expression. Mr. Sanji, please, don't hand me over to Marine. With what I've done in the past, I will definitely be executed. Akin, join me in pleading. What are you still hesitating for? Krieg, when everyone chose to set sail as pirates, they already staked their lives. Stop talking, Captain. Leave yourself some dignity. Akin's gaze was calm. I don't want to die. I can't die. Krieg struggled. Boom! A wave of Conqueror's haki suddenly swept over. In an instant, Krieg's head endured the impact of the Conqueror's will, rolling his eyes and fainting. So noisy. Luffy's voice came from outside. If you don't care about your dignity, I'll help you with that. The next day, Luffy, we can already see land. Usopp's loud voice penetrated the walls of the Sunny Go and reached Luffy's ears. What? Nami hugged Luffy's arm and mumbled in a daze. Luffy opened his eyes and helplessly patted her butt. Wake up, we've arrived. 041, are there really such idiots in the world? Logue Town, also known as the Town of Beginnings and Endings. It is located near the entrance of the Grand Line, and anyone who wants to go to the Grand Line will choose to rest and resupply here. Therefore, this town is completely different from the places Luffy has arrived at in the past. It is very prosperous, with numerous ships docking at the port all year round. They may be merchants, pirates, or simply tourists. Its geographical location determines that it is inevitably a military stronghold. Therefore, the naval headquarters has stationed an excellent colonel here, known as White Hunter Smoker, a Logia Smoke fruit ability user. In the Haki Rare East Blue, his ability is invincible. With him guarding the town, the pirates in the East Blue are much weaker in terms of both quantity and strength compared to the other three seas. Once they show up, they're easily targeted accurately. The port, the Going Merry, and the Thousand Sunny docked slowly. I say, Luffy, should we dock at a more remote coast? Usopp whispered from the neighboring Going Merry. Does this idiot captain even know that he now has a bounty of 71 million? There is no higher bounty in the East Blue. Once discovered, we can expect a large wave of Marines attacking. It's okay, only Zoro and I are wanted. Luffy shook his head. Dock at a remote coast? There's no need for that. We also have to arrange for someone to guard the ship. Rarely do we come to a bustling town. After being at sea for so long, everyone should have a good time exploring. Luffy, I'm going to buy 2 swords. The ones I had before were cut by Hawkeye. Zoro greeted and was the first to jump off the ship. Don't get lost. Johnny, Yasaka, you guys follow him. Yes, Captain Luffy. Leave it to us. The two immediately followed. They knew Zoro's sense of direction too well. They almost lost the Thousand Sunny at sea before, almost being led into a ditch by him. Who would get lost? Zoro turned around and complained, exuding confidence. Luffy laughed. Do you have enough money? When they were in Orange Town, Zoro received 1/3 of Buggy's treasure, about 3 to 4 million berries. Therefore, he just waved his hand and left without looking back. He's got money. After Zoro and the others left, Sanji came out with Krieg and Jin. Luffy, I'm going to Marine Base to exchange bounties. Thank you, Sanji. You're the most suitable for this job. Luffy nodded. He and Zoro are wanted. Obviously, Usopp is not suitable. After thinking about it, Sanji is the most reliable among the men. Afterwards, Nami and the other 2 women went shopping together. Girls have more things to buy. The latest clothes, shoes, beautiful jewelry, even perfume, cosmetics, and so on. To this, Luffy could only say that no matter which world it is, women still love shopping. He's not interested in joining in the fun. Even if he is the captain, he will end up being a pack mule. There shouldn't be any male comrades who enjoy accompanying women shopping. In the end, only 2 people were left. Luffy looked at Usopp. Let's go, it's just the 2 of us. No, I'm fine alone. Goodbye, Luffy. Usopp disappeared from Luffy's sight like a gust of wind. Have I stayed on the Thousand Sunny for too long? Have I spent too little time on the Going Merry, causing a rift between us? Luffy fell into deep thought and had to ponder this question. On the other side, Usopp ran wildly, thinking proudly, a bounty of 71 million. I'll be done for if I go with you. I'll definitely be targeted. Luffy, I won't hold you back. Ahaha, I'm so smart. Colonel Smoker, the pirate ship of the Straw Hat Pirates, has been spotted at the port. Marine Base, a smoke-filled office. Upon hearing the report from his subordinates, Smoker immediately looked at the wanted poster posted on the side. A bounty of 71 million. They came so quickly. Yes. Should we contact Vice Admiral Garp? No, don't contact him yet. I'll go see them myself. Smoker stood up, put on his coat, and walked out of the office. Monkey D, Luffy, capture only. Monkey D. Garp, the marine hero. Even a fool could guess his identity. No one is a fool. This time, it's not about capturing the other party. Just want to see how capable are the 71 million pirates that emerged in the East Blue. Oh, by the way, where is Tashigi? Tashigi, the sergeant major, is following Vice Admiral Garp. Upon hearing this, Smoker didn't say anything else and left the base directly. Lobetown's famous landmark, the execution platform of the Pirate King. Luffy flew over the tall buildings and arrived here alone. He stood at the top of a tall building surrounding the execution square, looking at the execution platform in the center of the square. The place where Pirate King Roger died. He didn't want to sit on it and take a look. He just came to see it out of sentimentality, just like a popular check-in spot in a past life. However, after actually seeing it, there was nothing special about it. It's not interesting, let's go. Huh. Suddenly, Luffy made a soft sound and looked towards the square. Why is he here? A hint of confusion flashed through his mind. People were coming and going in the square, bustling with activity. But a tall, broad-chested, muscular old man jumped onto the execution platform in one leap. He was wearing a justice cloak on his back. Vice Admiral Garp, under the execution platform, a girl wearing glasses anxiously shouted, "Please don't cause trouble. That place is a special facility of the world government." "Ha ha, don't worry, little Tashigi." Garp laughed heartily and sat down cross-legged. This scene immediately caught the attention of the people in the square, and they all looked over. "Is that marine hero, Garp?" "It's Vice Admiral Garp." Vice Admiral Garp came to this city. The crowd was stunned for a while, then erupted into loud cheers. Every person's face was filled with genuine smiles. Tashigi was shocked to hear this. This was the living legend? Such immense popularity. Garp grinned. "Quiet down, and stay a bit further away if possible." With that, he took a deep breath and shouted, "Pirate Luffy, I know you're here, come out." Upon hearing this, the square became restless. Tashigi was greatly surprised. Pirate Luffy? The pirate who had a bounty poster issued yesterday? On the top floor of the tall building, Luffy was momentarily speechless. He knew that with Garp's observation haki, he probably noticed him as soon as he landed. He was just curious why Garp was here. "Do you still want to hide? You brat. I knew you were up to something when you raised your butt. If you want to go to the Grand Line, you'll definitely come here. If you come here, you'll definitely come to this square. Do I have to punch you out?" Garp blew air toward his fist, full of threat. Luffy's mouth twitched, and he had no choice but to jump down from the tall building. When the people around saw him, their expressions changed. Even though it had only been a day, the pirate with the highest bounty in the East Blue was already well known. "It really is Straw Hat Luffy." Tashigi immediately drew her sword from her waist and said nervously, "Vice Admiral Garp, please step back. I will stop him." "Garp, Luffy, are there really fools like this in the world?" Luffy couldn't help but laugh, looked up at Garp on the execution platform, and his tone became serious. "Grandpa, are you trying to stop me?" Grandpa." Tashigi was instantly stunned, thanks to FJY, for the monthly ticket and also requesting flowers. 042 Luffy's Garp, grandson, third generation, a family of 3 overlords. "Grandfather, are you trying to stop me?" Upon hearing Luffy's address, the crowd in the square was stunned one by one. What's going on? He suddenly appeared yesterday and became the highest bounty pirate in East Blue. Is he Vice Admiral Garp's grandson? Tashigi stood still, her mouth slightly open, with a dumbfounded expression on her face. The scene remained silent for more than 10 seconds and finally erupted into a burst of exclamations. Garp laughed loudly from above, looking down. Stop? If you want to enter the Grand Line, you have to pass my test first. You foolish grandson, it's been a while since we last met. Have you forgotten your grandfather's iron fist of love?" He jumped down from the execution platform, grinning and waving his fist the size of a cooking pot. Seeing this, Luffy didn't hesitate and immediately launched a counterattack. "I'm not the same person I used to be, grandfather." Bang! The two fists, both imbued with haki, clashed and immediately determined the outcome. Amidst the booming sound of the clash, Garp's expression froze for a moment. and then he was pushed back by Luffy's punch, flying and crashing into the execution platform. Vice Admiral Garp. Tashigi was shocked and pale. This was a Marine hero, a vice admiral at Marine headquarters. He actually lost in a test of strength? Indeed, he's an old man. That's why she needs to protect him. Tashigi, it's your time to step forward now. To attack your own grandfather with such force. Don't you care about family ties? You despicable pirate. Tashigi gripped her sword, Wado Ikamanji, and assumed a fighting stance facing Luffy. Despite this, her body was trembling slightly. Luffy, he was rendered speechless by this woman's innocence. Get away from here quickly if you don't want to get involved, he calmly reminded her. As soon as he finished speaking, with a loud bang, Garp stood up and walked towards them with a smile on his face. You've grown, Luffy. When did you awaken Haki? He used the term awaken. This was only natural. Generally, even if one has outstanding talent, it takes at least a year to practice and master Busashoka Haki. But awakening is different. Perhaps at a certain moment, one suddenly comprehends it, and then with targeted training, they can quickly master it, greatly reducing the time needed. The last time he saw his grandson was less than a year ago. Ha! Grandfather, you can't stop me, Luffy laughed. Ha ha ha! You foolish grandson. Let me teach you about Haki. Garp also laughed, but before he finished speaking, his figure disappeared in an instant. The way to use it. When the voice resounded again, Garp was already close. Fast, too fast. Even though Luffy activated Kinbunchika Haki and locked on a Garp, he almost didn't react in time. From the side, left side, the body's reaction is faster than the brain. There's no time to think, or rather, the answer to the thought hasn't had a chance to be fed back to the body, and the body acts reflexively. As Luffy took a half step back with his left foot, his left calf seemed to be a pressure pump, instantly entering second gear. His fist struck again. Boom! Unlike before, this clash of Busashoka Haki created black lightning in the air, as earth coiling unleashed a hurricane. In an instant, the people within several tens of meters were blown away by the powerful impact. What is this? Tashigi widened her beautiful eyes, attempting to raise her hand to defend herself, but her feet couldn't grip the ground. With an ah, she was swept away. Two fists came to a stalemate, and the shockwaves continued to ripple in all directions. The ground beneath Luffy's feet suddenly collapsed in a circle, and cracks spread where he stood. Level 2, Luffy thought. The armament Haki used by Garp should only be at level 2, or maybe just 1.5, just slightly stronger than him. Thinking of this, Luffy's gaze sharpened, and his conqueror's Haki suddenly erupted. Garp immediately felt the power transmitted through his fist, and a look of astonishment appeared on his face. Conqueror's Haki. He has already awakened Conqueror's Haki. Feeling both surprised and delighted, Luffy's power surpassed his at this moment, and he punched him in the face. Garp lost his stable balance and was sent flying, crashing straight into the high-rise wall on the edge of the square. With a loud bang, the wall shattered. But the next second, Garp was completely fine, standing up from the hole in the wall with a grin on his face. Armament Haki, Conquerors. Have you even mastered Observation Haki? Without Observation Haki, one wouldn't be able to react to the previous punch. Armament Haki and Observation Haki can be put aside for now. This is a power that can be obtained through desperate training. But Conqueror's Haki is a qualification possessed by only one in millions of people, a proof of being a conqueror. Anyone who wants to reach the pinnacle of strength in this world must possess this power. Garp's smile became even brighter. Thinking of his revolutionary son and looking at his grandson who wants to become the Pirate King, he laughed while holding his forehead, tears almost coming out. Haha, I really can't do anything with you guys. Grandfather, father, and grandson, the third generation, a family of 3 conquerors. Can the will of a conqueror be changed? No, it cannot. You can defeat the opponent, you can kill the opponent, but a conqueror will not submit. Luffy remained calm. Grandpa, you can't stop me. The same words, but at this moment, they conveyed completely different meanings. Yes, Grandpa, you can't stop me. Garp sighed, and then a wave of Conqueror's Haki surged towards Luffy overwhelmingly. But I am Marine Vice Admiral Garp. Pirate Luffy, If you want to enter the Grand Line, you must first ask my fist. Are you coming again? Does this old man ever stop? You just need to test me a little to know my strength, and you really want to capture me? Luffy couldn't bear it and released his conqueror's haki from within. Boom! The two conquerors' haki clashed in midair, as if two domains were squeezing each other, filling the entire square. In an instant, a storm raged. Even though the people had already escaped to the outside of the square, the leakage of power from this clash of conquerors' haki caused countless people to roll their eyes and faint. The next moment, both of them launched their attacks at the same time. In midair, their fists clashed once again. Boom, rimble, rimble. Like thunder on a clear day, the sound echoed through the sky. 043 silver and white figure, like the god of the sun, boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. The booming sound coming from the execution square, a famous attraction in Log Town, has been continuous. This sound has almost spread throughout the entire town, but no one can get close. The impact generated by the collision of two conquerors' haki is so powerful that anyone who gets close to a certain distance will be swept into it. In front of the Marine base gate, is a festival today? It's been booming. Sanji dragged the unconscious Krieg and the two of them to this place. He looked up in the direction of the execution square, and the huge commotion transmitted here was reduced to a thunderous roar. Halt! The Marine guard in front of the base gate immediately shouted, I'm here to exchange bounties. Are these two pirates worth any money? Sanji withdrew his gaze and said calmly. Only then did the guard carefully look at them, and when he saw Krieg's face, he was shocked. Admiral Krieg of the Krieg Pirates and Fishman Arlong. These are all notorious pirates in East Blue, and they were actually captured alive. Are you a bounty hunter? The soldier changed his attitude. His tone became more respectful. Please wait. I will immediately report to Colonel Smoker. He turned and entered the base. He left in a hurry and returned in a hurry. Colonel Smoker is not here. Please follow me. I will take you to sea captain. Sanji followed swaggeringly. After meeting a Marine captain, he successfully received the bounty, a total of 29 million berries, packed in a suitcase. Before leaving, Sanji curiously asked, Is there a festival today? Just an ordinary day. Then what's the booming sound outside? We have sent people to investigate. Colonel Smoker is guarding this city, so you can rest assured that no pirate can cause trouble here. Your money is safe, the captain said confidently. After hesitating for a moment, he added, However, if you see members of the underworld, please try to avoid conflicts. If there are any problems, you can contact our Marines. The underworld? Sanji shook his head and left the Marine base with a large sum of money. Next, let's go buy some ingredients. The food on the ship is too monotonous. Sanji started to stroll around with great enthusiasm. Zoro walked out of the Sella Sword weapon shop and touched the 3 swords on his waist, feeling satisfied. It's reassuring to have 3 swords. Surprisingly, the boss is a good person. He actually gave me 2 swords for free, he said with a smile. Sella Sword is the boss's name. Johnny covered his face and said, Zoro, did you forget about your bounty? Your wanted poster was posted in the shop just now. Joseph nodded repeatedly. Yeah. At first the boss just wanted to give you 2 random swords, but you picked the Demon Blade 3rd generation Kitetsu at a glance. So he changed his mind and gave you the shop's treasure, the named sword Yuki Hashiri. You guys really don't understand anything. Giving me 2 swords means he's a good person. Zoro grinned. Next, let's find a tavern to drink. Oh, drinking. Johnny and Joseph raised their hands in agreement. You guys won't have a chance to drink. Suddenly, a deep voice came from behind the 3. Zoro paused and turned around. There was a silver-haired man with 3 cigars in his mouth, appearing bare-chested in front of the 3. Marine, Colonel Smoker. Johnny was startled and looked surprised. Zoro, this guy's the Marine officer in charge here. Joseph immediately drew his weapon. Zoro frowned slightly. Colonel Smoker, is there something you need? A stupid question. Marines catch pirates. Do we need a reason? Smoker's arms began to turn into smoke, and thick fog quickly enveloped the 3 of them. Where's your captain? Straw Hat Luffy. I can't tell you that. Zoro chuckled lightly and drew the 3rd generation Kitetsu. Johnny, Joseph stepped back. It looked like a fight was about to break out. Boom! A distant rumble came. Smoker's face changed. That direction. The execution platform. Is it over there? In an instant, thick smoke billowed, and he abandoned Zoro and flew towards the execution square. Is it Luffy? Zoro also paused for a moment, then immediately chased after him. Wait, Marine Colonel. Your opponent is me. Wrong, wrong. Zoro, the direction is wrong. Joseph shouted anxiously and caught up with their footsteps. Execution square. The battle between Luffy and Garp continued. The vast arena was now empty, with no one standing. Tashigi hid in a distant corner, watching the extraordinary battle between the two without blinking. Boom! Suddenly, there was another clash of Conqueror's haki, and a huge wave of energy swept in all directions. Tashigi immediately grabbed onto the wall to stabilize herself and prevent herself from being blown away. The strong wind made it almost impossible for her to open her eyes. Monsters! Both the grandfather and grandson are like monsters in terms of strength. She gritted her teeth and thought, Vice Admiral Garp, can he win? In this situation, ordinary people wouldn't even dare to get close, let alone intervene. Therefore, she did not contact the base to request support. In the alley next to her hiding place, there was another man, wearing a nose ring, with a demonic face and a black wing-shaped half-circle tattoo on his chest. He was also shocked as he watched the battle between the two. His name was Bartolomeo, the leader of over 150 towns in the underworld. But at this moment, he had none of the demeanor of a leader, instead looking at the two on the battlefield with a childlike admiration. More accurately, he was looking at Luffy. Ha ha, Luffy, how long can you hold on with your haki? It's already weakening. Amidst his laughter, Garp punched Luffy, sending him flying. Boom! Luffy landed on the ground and patted his pants as he stood up. He couldn't even withstand the second level combined with Conqueror's haki. Garp had perfect control over his power, just slightly stronger than him. Rather than trying to capture him, it seemed more like he was teaching him how to use haki. Grandpa, I have my reasons. It's okay to tell you now. Luffy's observation haki reached its limit, and nearby, there were only two remaining conscious auras. After all, there's no one else who can see it. Please help me keep it a secret afterwards. Fifth gear. In an instant, a silver figure appeared. Flames surrounded his body, and his hair resembled burning white flames, exuding a sense of mystery in the sunlight. What is this? Garp's face was filled with astonishment. Luffy's devil fruit is called the rubber fruit. Of course he knew that. The scene before him was the awakened state of a devil fruit user, which he could also understand. But is this how the rubber fruit awakens? Grandpa, I will defeat you here, and then enter the Grand Line. As soon as he finished speaking, Luffy slightly bent his knees and squatted down to gather power. In the next moment, he disappeared from his original position. The ground seemed like a trampoline, launching him forward. Whoosh! In a lightning-fast movement, Garp maintained a stunned expression without evading or dodging, and took a solid punch to the abdomen. This punch went through his body. With a muffled groan, Garp was sent flying, directly breaking the execution platform of the Pirate King, and then piercing through one high-rise building after another. In an instant, he disappeared from the square. This scene left a deep impression on Bartolomeo and Tashigi. The silver figure, like the god of the sun, 044 admirers and glasses girls. New crew joined the silver figure shone brightly under the sun. Tashigi couldn't believe it and covered her mouth, not daring to breathe. Luffy exhaled and activated the power of the sunlight fruit, quickly recovering his depleted strength. His gaze slightly shifted and locked onto Tashigi, who was hiding in a small alley outside the square. She had been discovered. Tashigi's body immediately froze in place. Such oppressive force. Just being locked onto by his gaze rendered her unable to move. The punch I just threw, even my grandfather probably wouldn't have fared well. Glasses girl, tell him to keep it a secret, Luffy said calmly. He bent down to pick up his straw hat, dusted off the dirt, and put it back on his head. Then, he walked straight towards the direction of the harbor. It was only when he left the square that Tashigi's tense body finally relaxed. She covered her chest and gasped for breath, her suspended heart gradually calming down. What glasses, girl? She bit her lip, feeling a sense of humiliation. To be scared motionless by just a look from the other party. To Shiji, oh, to Shiji, how can you uphold your own justice like this? But indeed, he was too powerful, especially when he turned silver. What was that? Why would someone who possesses Vice Admiral Garp's power go so far as to become a pirate? No one answered her inner doubts. Vice Admiral Garp. She snapped back to her senses and immediately ran towards the direction where Garp was sent flying. Inside a building hundreds of meters away from the square, Garp lay on the ground without getting up. A trace of blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. After wiping it away with his hand, he couldn't help but grin and mutter to himself. That punch hurt a bit. What happened in the past year? Luffy's strength underwent a tremendous change, awakening Conqueror's haki, and even awakening his devil fruit. But after not seeing each other for nearly a year, he couldn't imagine what his grandson had experienced to undergo such a huge transformation. Vice Admiral Garp. Tashiji's voice came. Little Tashiji, Garp patted his butt and got up, rubbing the back of his head with a laugh. Ha! It's really unacceptable to be defeated by my own grandson. Are you okay? Tashiji asked with concern. He didn't seem to be in any trouble. Really, what's the deal with you two, grandfather and grandson? Are your bodies made of steel? Where's Luffy? Straw Hat Luffy left, and I didn't dare to stop him. I'm sorry. He asked me to give you a message. Tashiji's mood was complicated. Why did she have to help a pirate deliver a message? And he even called her Glasses Girl. But in the end, she still honestly said, keep it a secret. So the problem lies with the rubber fruit? Garp pondered in his heart. It seemed necessary to investigate what exactly the rubber fruit that red-haired gave Luffy was. The punch he took earlier caused his body to become rubberized at the point of impact, and the fist even went through his chest. This is not an ordinary fruit awakening. Is that so? Then I'll leave it to you, little Tashiji. What you saw just now must be kept a secret. Okay, keep it a secret? I understand. Tashiji was stunned for a moment, then nodded earnestly, although she didn't know the reason behind it. If Vice Admiral Garp said so, then she would keep it a secret. Good child, huh? Garp laughed satisfactorily, feeling quite good. The problem is, there's still one person. Immediately, he walked out, and the color of observation instantly enveloped the entire city. Luffy walked through the countless unconscious crowd and headed towards the harbor. Shouts came from behind. Just wait a moment, Straw Hat Luffy. No, Luffy-sama. A green-haired man with an accent quickly caught up. Excitedly, he ran ahead of Luffy. What's up? Luffy looked at the man. It was Bartolomeo. Because of his distinctive appearance and hair color, Luffy had noticed him early on. In the original work, this guy was a die-hard fan of the Straw Hat crew. I saw everything just now. You were amazing. Bartolomeo seemed a little embarrassed, like he had just met his idol. His face blushed with a hint of shyness, and his eyes were filled with admiration. Then please keep it secret, Luffy smiled. Yes. I have a lifelong request. Luffy-sama, please accept me as your subordinate. With a thud, Bartolomeo got down on all fours and said fervently, please let me be your little brother. Hearing this, Luffy raised an eyebrow. Do you want to go to the Grand Line with me? Yes. Although I don't have any special talents, after watching your previous battles, especially that silver-white figure, my blood is boiling. Luffy-sama, you are the man who will become the Pirate King. Afraid of being rejected, Bartolomeo's emotions became even more excited. Luffy chuckled lightly and continued walking towards the port. Bartolomeo stood still, his passionate heart suddenly chilled. But the next moment, a voice from behind sounded like a heavenly hymn. Follow me. Yes, Luffy-sama. Bartolomeo was overjoyed, got up in a dog-like stance, and couldn't contain his excitement. Suddenly, a white smoke appeared in the distance. The pale smoke flew rapidly like a long snake. Smoker saw the tragic situation. Countless people lay on the streets with their eyes rolled back, and the only two standing were casually walking through the corpses. Straw Hat Luffy. Smoker was furious, his killing intent undisguised. Luffy Neeson, From behind, Zoro ran over quickly, followed by Johnny and Yasaku. "Hey, Zoro, get ready to set sail. My grandpa is here," Luffy greeted. "None of you can leave." Veins popped on Smoker's forehead. "If I let you go after killing so many people, what right do I have to wear the Marine uniform?" White wind. In an instant, his whole body turned into white smoke, surrounding Luffy like a cage. "Luffy-sama, please go ahead. Leave this to me. I've dealt with this guy before." Bartolomeo quickly made a strange hand gesture, crossing his middle finger with his index finger. "Barrier." Luffy stopped him with a raised hand and smiled. "A Logia user as weak as you is rare." As soon as he finished speaking, Luffy instantly captured Smoker in his observation haki. Luffy leaped up and threw a punch towards the thick smoke. "Go back and train for another 2 years." Boom! With armament haki enveloping his attack, Luffy directly knocked Smoker's true body out. "Wow!" Smoker spat out stomach acid, his eyes bulging. He was knocked down hard and lay on the ground. Cough! Cough! Smoker coughed on the ground, as if all his strength had been drained. He stared at Luffy and said, "UBD, how did you hit me?" Logia users have fluid bodies and are immune to physical attacks. He hadn't been injured or felt pain for many years. "Go ask your teacher." Luffy wasn't interested in dealing with him and waved his hand to signal everyone, "Let's go, it's time to go to the Grand Line." 045 heading to the Grand Line. End of East Blue chapter. Smoker, who was knocked down to the ground, was powerless to stop the Straw Hat crew from leaving and could only watch helplessly. The feeling of powerlessness made him tighten his fist. After a while, a captain led a large number of Marines to arrive. "Smoker-sama, don't mind me. Chase after them. We must not let the Straw Hat crew escape." Smoker gritted his teeth and gave the order. Indeed, pirates are pirates. Even if they are descendants of heroes, once they set sail, they will become indiscriminate killers. He hadn't finished speaking. A medical soldier who was checking the wounded shouted loudly, "Captain, the civilians are fine. They just fainted." Smoker, the captain. The massive mobilization of the Marines and the commotion at the execution square finally made the people of Logue Town, who had enjoyed several years of peace, realize that something was wrong. "The Straw Hat crew has landed. Run away. If you don't want to die, run. That's the highest bounty and the most vicious pirate in East Blue." "What about the Marines?" Colonel Smoker. Panic spread. Countless people started to flee. The once lively streets were now even livelier, because everyone was running. Luffy walked silently on the street, and whenever the people saw them, they screamed and ran away as if they had seen a ghost. The treatment was completely different from the places they had been to before. Am I that scary? He hadn't done anything bad. On the contrary, he had done quite a few good things. Shouldn't that be considered a good thing? How did the news about him spread? Bartolomeo, the #1 fanboy, immediately answered, "Luffy-sama, you are as terrifying as a ghost. Be afraid, and then run away in a panic. If you can't speak, then don't speak." Luffy rolled his eyes. "I wanted to ask just now, who is this guy?" Zoro glanced at him and asked. "Nice to meet you. Zoro-sama of the Straw Hat crew, right? I saw your bounty poster yesterday." Bartolomeo walked up to Zoro, bowed 90 degrees, and said, "I am Luffy-sama's loyal subordinate, the rookie Bartolomeo. Please take care of me." Zoro looked disgusted and said, "Get out of the way." "Yes, Zoro-sama." Bartolomeo, who was excited, still had a lot of energy. Just then, the sound of running in formation came from behind. "The Marines are here." Johnny turned his head and was startled. "Luffy." Garp came running, followed by many Marines, each armed with guns and even rocket launchers, probably devices for launching seastone weapons. "Run." Luffy laughed and started running first. On the way to the port, when they were near the port, they happened to see Nami returning from shopping with bags in her hands. "Luffy," she shouted. "I heard a loud noise earlier and knew it must be you guys exposed. Get on the ship, Nami. My grandpa is chasing after us." "Huh, grandpa." Nami became nervous instantly and looked behind Luffy. Sure enough, she saw a Marine officer wearing a cape, grinning and chasing after Luffy and the others. "That's Luffy's grandpa." Should I say hello? Before she could figure it out, Luffy reached out and pulled her, bringing the three women onto the Sunny. The rest of the crew quickly climbed aboard the Mary. You guys are back. Sanji was the first to return, and when he looked up and saw the Marines in the distance, he smiled. I knew it. The booming sound was definitely not right. After a pause, Bartolomeo was seen. Who is this guy? No time to introduce everyone. Luffy immediately ordered. Set sail. Is everyone here? Oh, everyone is here, Lord Luffy. The crew quickly raised the anchor and lowered the sails. The two ships slowly sailed towards the open sea. On the shore, the Marines stopped at the port, and Garp grinned. Do you think you can escape like this? Bring me the cannonballs. He picked up a solid cannonball and threw it barehanded. With a swoosh, the cannonball flew towards the Sunny, with even greater power than a warship's main cannon. Boom! Luffy swung his arm and directly smashed it. It's about time to give up, Grandpa. Ha ha! Once you enter the Grand Line, the naval headquarters will be after you, Pirate Luffy. It's not too late to turn back now. Garp laughed. Upon closer inspection, this brat was accompanied by three women. Has he finally matured? He would be happier if he had made him a great-grandfather earlier, rather than becoming the Pirate King. Goodbye, Grandpa. See you in the Grand Line. Luffy waved his hand with a smile on his face. Vice Admiral Garp. Tashigi spoke softly. He escaped. Garp didn't throw any more cannonballs and laughed with his arms crossed. He's such a headache of a grandson. Now I'll be scolded by Sengoku when I go back. Ha ha ha. His laughter was full of pride. On the deck of the Mary Go, the crew suddenly looked at each other in confusion. Did we forget something? What could we have forgotten? Oh, indeed, we forgot something. We're missing someone, Zoro. That's right, where's Usopp? The faces of several people turned dark. Just then, at the port of Logue Town, a long-nosed man carrying a huge package was chasing and shouting, Luffy, did you forget? I'm still not on the ship.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.